We'll kick off today's session by a report of a research from UNESCO Aerolab. It's a research conducted by a group of young researchers, and it focuses on youth participation in sustainable rural development, aiming at exploring the strategy, role, and impact of ESD program. So, Ms. Gong Shiqing, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you again. And today I would like to share with you the research that we have done at UNESCO Inroad. It is a youth-led research, and it aims at looking into youth participation from the case studies of ESD programs in China. And this research was carried out based on the following background. Firstly, we're living in a world threatened by sustainability crisis, environmental degradation, loss of cultural heritage, ever-widening inequalities, and these issues cannot be neglected if we want to ensure the survival of our planet. And secondly, with rural population taking up to more than 37% of overall Chinese population, rural development has been vitally important. So the Chinese government has launched the strategic plan for rural revitalization and declared its vision on building ecological civilization. As the saying goes, lucid water and large mountains are invaluable assets. In Chinese, we say 绿水青山就是金山银山. So ecological civilization is an overall green transformation of economic and social development through coordinated progress on ecology, governance, economy, and society. So to realize the objectives of sustainable development and eventually building ecological civilization, education plays a crucial role in building awareness, knowledge, and capacity to meet sustainability crisis challenges, promoting global citizenship, human rights, gender equality, peace and appreciation of cultural diversity, as well as promoting partnerships at all levels. We should also respect youth as the agents of change, because they are both the most vulnerable groups when encountering ecological threats and the primary stakeholders to tackle sustainability issues. That's also the reason why empowering and mobilizing youth is a priority action area of UNESCO ESD for 2030. So given these factors, these questions were raised in this research. First, what are the strategies of ESD programs in rural China? Second, what role do these ESD programs play in youth participation? And then third, what are the factors that promote or constrain youth participation in sustainable rural development? The key notions from this research were further conceptualized through the following indicators. In this research, by strategy, we mean the knowledge, core skills, intervention approach, and evaluation method of the Education for Sustainable Development programs. And regarding role in youth participation, the study examines the types of action and the impact of the program on youth cognitive skills, social emotional skills, and behavioral change. And lastly, the convention factors are those who enables or constrains youth engagement at a policy level from resource and environment, social norms, or others. So this research started with purposive sampling method. The criteria for recruiting ESD programs cases are the theme of the program should be related to education for sustainable development or rural revitalization, and the focal area should be in rural regions and targeted at youth participants aged from 15 to 24 years. So based on this, 6 cases were then identified and 7 organizers and teachers of the program and 11 youth participants were involved. The first stage of this study was to conduct content analysis of the questionnaire that we sent out to the program designers. And then the findings were triangulated by semi-structured interviews with program organizers and participants. Each were carried out by our research assistants. And then from these case studies, we found that the programs were mainly focused on the following themes or work from the following perspectives. Firstly, environmental perspective, which is usually covering the topic of climate change, environmental protection, such as campus greening. And then socio-economic perspective, it often refers to rural industry development. And lastly, cultural perspective, which emphasizes the importance of protecting local cultural heritage. These cases were then further categorized into 3 groups based on whether the program organizer or participant is originally from the area where the program is carried out or has settled down there as local residents. And based on this, we have 3 cases in which both the organizer and participants are non-native. For example, an NGO in Beijing recruits some college students from all over the country to go to a rural village in Yunnan province for a summer program. And there is one case with non-native organizer, but native participants. For example, volunteer from an organization in Beijing, they go to a rural secondary school to carry out programs with local students. And last, we have 2 cases in which both organizers and participants are native. This is usually the occasion when the teachers in local schools conducted like ESD-related activities with their students. And next, I'm going to answer our research questions based on the analysis of these 3 categories. So the first question, what are the strategies of ESD programs in rural China? From this graph, we can see that programs with non-native organizers put more emphasis on the interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary knowledge related to sustainable development goals and local contexts, such as ecological farming, agritourism, and the development of cultural products. And when the organizer is native, which means he or she is already a teacher at a local school, the focus will be on disciplinary knowledge and its application in real life, such as mathematics for campus greening or history for local culture preservation. And at the skills level, all ESD-related programs attach great importance to participants' teamwork, connection, critical thinking, and problem-solving skills. But there are also some differences. The first group emphasizes research skills and practical skills. The second group highlights social awareness, community service awareness, and action-oriented leadership. And the third group puts more attention to applying disciplinary knowledge in real-life contexts. These differences were also reflected in the intervention approach. Non-native organizers are more likely to adopt project-based learning methods, as well as seminars, workshops, or other informal and non-formal activities, while native organizers, they combine classroom teaching and extracurricular activities to implement the program. The evaluation methods vary from case to case too. These are the methods such as questionnaires, informal colloquium, an integration of public exhibition and interview, or self-peer and teachers assessment during and after the process. And then the second research question, what role do these ESD programs play in youth participation? It can be seen that most common types of youth actions are field research, campus-based initiatives, or community activities. And then non-native participants also reported the creation of innovative products, such as documentary, architecture design, or cultural artifacts. And then looking at the impact of these programs on young people, we can see that participants of programs organized by non-natives, they gained more knowledge of interdisciplinary concepts and deeper understanding of the interconnectivity of SDGs with environment, culture, and human society. And for students participating in native programs, their knowledge of the subject, such as math and history, has been enriched because the program was led by their teacher. And then from a social emotional dimension, all participants reported improved skills in communication and teamwork. And for non-native participants, they have also increased their empathy with local communities and deepened their understanding of youth responsibility in rural development. We were glad to see that for native participants, they have enhanced their self-efficacy, sense of achievement, and confidence in local culture. And then from the behavioral dimension, we found that changes in daily life habits and their increased engagement in relative activities or service for non-native participants. We were also surprised to find that problem behaviors such as truancy was reduced on native participants. And lastly, the third research question. What are the factors that promotes or constrains youth participation in sustainable rural development? When looking back on the enabling factors, most interviewees mentioned the benefits of the policies or strategies of rural development in China, such as the rural revitalization strategy, the dual carbon goal, or education modernization plan. And then partnerships with different multi-stakeholders have also contributed a lot. However, there are still some constraints. For example, for the first group, the pandemic and the restrictions to reach to local communities or project sites have largely impeded the successful and smooth implementation of all the programs. And for the second and third group, they both face the problem of inadequate educational resources and low awareness of sustainable development in rural areas. And then resistance from school administrators, parents, or other teachers, cramped schedule in rural schools. These factors has also put their programs in dilemma. And in addition, how to build long-term organizer-participant relationship, how to manage teachers' schedule conflicts, limited time and energy are evidently quite challenging for the programs carried out with local students. So based on the findings from this research, we have drawn the following conclusions. First, interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary learning, or the application of disciplinary knowledge in real-life contexts, enable better understanding of sustainable rural development. And then second, approaches of youth participation may vary, but teamwork, communication, critical thinking, and problem-solving skills are essential in any forms of engagement. Thirdly, partnerships with multi-stakeholders have a significant impact on the implementation of education for sustainable development programs and extent of youth engagement. However, drawbacks still exist. For example, scant attention has been paid to an effective evaluation method to monitor the progress and assess outcomes of youth actions. And although there are policies in favor of rural development and rural education, there is still a lack of systematic support to implement, sustain, or scale up ESD programs in rural areas. So these are what we found and learned from this study. We hope that this research will serve as an initial stage to be an attempt to unearth the value of education for rural development. And we look forward to more communications and collaborated research in this field in the future. And before I conclude this part, please allow me to also express our special thanks to the partners who have offered generous support in recruiting the cases, organizers, and participants for this research. They are Center of Rural Revitalization of Tsinghua University, China Youth Climate Action Network, Teach Future China, and Peer Experience Exchange Rostrum. I would also love to take this chance to give a big shout out to the research assistants who have contributed a lot throughout the progress. They are Chen Maoyue, Guo Zinan, Li Shujing, and Wang Xingyi. Thank you all for your work. And that's all for our research. We look forward to any further collaborations. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Miss Gong Shiqing. Sorry, thank you for sharing this comprehensive presentation of the report, which I believe is an amazing start for today's session. And I already saw there's audience asking for the presentation. Great. So now we know the role of education for sustainable development programs in youth participation. It's also important to hear from youth themselves about their empirical experience in taking actions. So now let's move to the next session, which is experience sharing of youth actions. And before we start, I would like to remind our audience that you are welcome to participate in our discussion through posting relevant questions to our guest speakers via chat box or Q&A box. So we have 15 minutes Q&A session at the end, if time permits. And please feel free to type down your thoughts, questions, and indicate who you would like to address the question to. Thank you. In the following session, we've invited representatives from China and Southeast Asian countries to share their actions for sustainable development, especially in local communities. Please allow me to introduce our speakers today. I would like to introduce Ms. Li Ziqiao from the Green Association at Huazhong Agricultural University in China. Welcome. And Mr. Yang Haowen from the Digital Hive Research Association at Northwest Agricultural and Forestry University in China. Welcome. And then we have Dr. Eric Bascoro from the Margot Muyo Community Program at Asian Institute of Technology. Welcome. And another guest speaker is also from the Asian Institute of Technology, Mr. Raxmei Bao from the Wei Farm Agriculture and Tourism Community Program. Welcome. And last but not the least, Mr. Marco San Juan from the Comparative Education and Student Critical Leadership Society at Philippine Normal University. Welcome. So it's a great pleasure to have all of you here today. Without further ado, let's welcome our first speaker, Ms. Li Ziqiao from the Green Association in China. Mr. Li Ziqiao is an undergraduate student majoring in environmental ecological engineering at Huazhong Agricultural University. She is currently the honorary president of the Green Association. Ms. Li joined the Green Association in 2020. However, the Green Association has a quite long history in organizing volunteers to promote environmental sustainability and implemented several successful projects. We'll hear more details from Ms. Li. So Ms. Li Ziqiao, you have the floor for up to 15 minutes. Thank you. Ms. Li Ziqiao. Okay, great. 哦，可以看见。你要把它放到全屏模式。
Yes, we can see it. You have to put it in the full screen model. Hello, moderator. Hello, participants, panelists, and delegates. I'm Li Ziqiao from Wuhan. It's my honor to speak on behalf of the Green Association of Huazhong Agricultural University at this symposium. My topic is that building the rural area and dream about the future. First, I will introduce the Green Association and its effort in rural development. And the Green Association was founded in 2000. It is a student association with a group of teachers and students who advocate environmental protection, sustainable development, and green ideas. Since its founding, the association has been committed to organizing volunteers for the development of ecological civilization and has fostered high-quality volunteer service programs such as Green Dream, Nature Education, Clean Stream Plan. And second, we have cultivated green ambassadors. The 20th National Congress of the Communist Party of China emphasized that man and nature coexist in a community of life, and we should establish and practice the idea of low city waters and large mountains are invaluable assets. In the modern society, nature the deficiency is quietly spreading, and young people need to engage more with nature in order to understand, love, and protect nature. Through the 22 years of environmental protection publicity and practice, the association has cultivated the Green Dam Youth Nature Education Project. It aims to train young people as the future force for building a beautiful China. And the project includes Green Dream Nature Education Training Camp and an education school focusing on development of beautiful China, and a project organized the various volunteers to give services so that the youth can learn the knowledge of green development, practice the concept of green environmental protection, and become a major force in the future. The Green Dream Nature Education Training Camp is mainly for college students. It is mainly an experienced camp, represent the Hubei Green Camp and May 1st Environmental Protection Camp. It has been carried out activities in various forms, focusing on the Xinjiang River Basin and Wulin Mountain area, urban development and environmental changes in the Three Gorges Reservoir area, and with making recommendations. The school is mainly for primary and middle school students all over the country. Members have visited more than 40 primary and middle schools, such as ZAU affiliated primary school. And currently, there are 9 categories of courses about water protection and water sorting, so that students can understand the current status of environment protection. And also, it has combined the knowledge in class with field practice. There are 6 types of courses, such as waste materials DIY and ecological bottle. In order to expand its influence, we have carried out summer camps together with the association and Sanjiangyuan Daily, and take the students to participate in environmental protection practice. We are committed to plant the idea of environmental protection in the minds of more children. Every summer, the association sends volunteers to more than 10 schools, such as Buchen Primary School in Yuzhou County, Jiangxi Province, and Changping Primary School, and Shaoyuan Primary School in Shangyuan City. And taking courses on soil science through theoretical teaching and hands-on practice, students get to learn the types and the features of soil and the impact of soil pollution. With online and offline model, we have teach them the making of eco bottles, popularize the ecological knowledge, such as the ecological stability, increase their awareness about environmental protection with various activities and lively explanations. Students have built their environmental protection ideas, and this is contributing to the sustainable development of rural areas. Currently, the team for 13 years in a row have been to the rural areas and give them lessons and teach the schools and popularized the environmental protection concept with many interesting and caring courses given to the students during the summers. Currently, we have established a collaboration with more than 20 primary schools. Our schools has covered multiple cities and counties in Hubei province, expanding to the rural areas. We have offered more than 60 classes, benefiting more than 25,000 primary and middle school students. And many training camps have been organized more than 10 years, benefiting more than 7,000 college students. Third, implementing the clean stream plan and practice the concept of environmental protection. Currently, China has made great achievements in water pollution treatment. However, there's a lot of challenges. And the rural water system is disordered and ecological problems remain prominent. Therefore, there's a huge gap to the requirement of the beautiful China building. Therefore, in the past 20 years, we have organized the volunteer services to treat the water systems in rural areas and to help the revitalization of the countryside of China. The project consists of 3 parts, including water action, water knowledge, focus on publicity, and water dream, focus on environmental research. Water action is about organizing volunteers to carry out regular waste handling in the rivers across Wuhan and write essays and reports about their survey, which has provided the reference for treatment models. The association are promoting these events in rural areas by recruiting more volunteers to contribute their efforts. Zhang Xiaona and Lu Bing, and among other members, have been elected as the lake guardians. And the water knowledge program focuses on publicity and education. The water quality is the most observable. Therefore, volunteers carry out questionnaires and surveys and interviews with the local residents to get understanding about the current situation of the water quality in local areas, and also educate the children about water protection, give them books and other materials to raise their awareness. And also the association work together with the environmental authorities to regularly make the quality monitoring results public accessible and encourage villagers to participate in the process and boost the results of water quality treatment.
项目成员对于一江碧水的美好愿望。
The dream of water has cherished the very good dreams of the participants to this river. And based on these advantages, these project's members have been working on the designing of the floating island for the sceneries with the guidance of the professional teachers. They are trying to improve the living environment and the habitat, and also to build very beautiful scenes in the rural areas. Besides that, we also hold a competition for the water environment and the innovation to encourage the university students to give full play at their professional advantages. At the same time, the government, the participants also have done a study about the government's water environment planning and protection, and contributing to the water environment and the protection. Since 2020, we have sent about 600 volunteers to have these publicity activities in the countryside and help people to learn to save the water and protect the water. We're very glad that more and more villagers are also joining us into this program and become a volunteer to protect the water in the area. Number 4 is about the protection of the birds, and there used to be a very famous zoologist used to say that only when we understand we can care, only when we care we can help, only we can help we can save. So currently the habitat of all these birds have been threatened, and we didn't realize the survival difficulties of these birds. So we have come out with this bird protection program. For the students at elementary school and middle school, we have invited students to enjoy and to watch the birds in the field, and we take them to watch the birds and to share with them the knowledge. For the university students, so there's a poor connection with the speaker.
Miss Zhao, it seems you have 你的网络连接好像不太好。
Miss Li, your internet connection was not good.
我们稍等一下子乔。
So we'd like to wait for her a short moment. If she can come back later, we can invite her to continue with the presentation.
谢谢子乔啊。稍后你回来。
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Please contact with us later. I would also like to remind all of our speakers that you can also drop the questions in the chat. And lastly, we are going to answer the questions.
To our next speaker, Mr. Yang Haowen, who is also from China. Mr. Yang Haowen is now a postgraduate student at Northwest Agricultural and Forestry University, majoring in English MTI. He is a representative from the Digital Hive Research Association. As the name suggests, his association focuses on hives. We'll see how they use technologies to help bees build a better home. Mr. Yang Haowen, the floor is yours. You have up to 15 minutes.
Thank you, Theo. Now I'm gonna share my screen and my slides. Hold on. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, dear audience, it is an honor and pleasure to attend this important symposium on behalf of the Digital Hive Research Association of Northwest Agriculture and Forestry University. It is also a pleasure to share with you our experience in boosting agriculture, helping farmers through science and technology, and also youth learning to promote sustainable development. My report today is divided into 4 parts: the introduction of our association, the application of the digital hive system, association activities, and our achievements. Now I'm going to give a short introduction. Digital Hive Research Association's purpose can be described as aiming at digital beekeeping based on apiculture, combining artificial intelligence, big data, and the Internet of Things to boost sustainable development of agriculture, ecology, and rural areas. Including over 800 members, our association has made great achievements which have been reported by more than 30 media, including CCTV, China Central Television. Over the years, our members were honored to give reports to Yang Changfeng, academician of Chinese Academy of Engineering and chief designer of Beidou Navigation Satellite System, and Li Chuan, initiator of Science and Technology Correspondence System of China. Based on the research and development of digital or smart beehive, our association promoted the modular production of smart beekeeping, developed the Smart Bee app for beekeepers, and built the Fengyun Big Data Cloud platform. We have also built a beekeeping environmental control system based on artificial intelligence and a behavioral detection and disease prediction model. With all this combined, our digital beekeeping system ranks the first in the industry. The system, greatly labor-saving, helped expand the management scale of the beekeepers by 5 to 10 times. Using the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and other technologies, we integrated beehive environmental data collectors to a data management system to monitor the environment in the beehive and bee colony activities in real time and provide timely feedback to beekeepers through smartphones. The system supports statistical analysis and abnormality early warning function, which saves repetitive operations such as opening and checking beehives that beekeepers had to do without our system. So we managed to promote the transformation from traditional beekeeping to digital beekeeping or smart beekeeping, greatly improving management scale. Over the years, our team has found that the healthiest living temperature for bees is 34.4 degrees Celsius, and the suitable humidity in the hive is 70%. The smart beehive operates around the data processor, which is connected to the temperature sensor and the humidity sensor respectively. They are responsible for collecting all the living data of the bees, and the entire beehive is powered by the solar panel attached to the top. The heating and cooling function are realized through the heating plate and several fans. If it exceeds 35 degrees inside, the cooling system will start and the fans will work to cool it down rapidly. If it's lower than 35 degrees, the heating plate will start working to heat the beehive. The measurement accuracy of the system achieves a temperature error within 1 degree. The data processor can accurately monitor the temperature and humidity changes and then send it to the big data center for correlation analysis. By scanning the QR codes linked to each beehive, beekeepers can access the environmental data inside the beehives through their phones and, of course, learn about the current situation. In this way, beekeepers can quickly confirm and locate problem beehives based on the data and then act. Take the example of the beekeeping farm of Zhongliangsheng in Fujian province. There is a module in the big data system called abnormal bee colony. And these two lines represent the temperature of the center of the beehive and the temperature of the peripheral comb. If the peripheral temperature drops rapidly, it means that there are no bees there, which reminds the beekeeper to cut the peripheral comb. In the past, this kind of monitoring work required the beekeeper to go to the beehive to check in person. But now he knows it without leaving home, which greatly reduces the beekeeper's work. Every 400 beehives in his farm required 5 managers before. And after using our system, they only need 1 manager. So the cost is greatly reduced. If someone wants to start a small-scale beekeeping farm, for example, a family beekeeping farm, he can generally keep 100 beehives. And the annual net profit of each is about 600 yuan. After using our digital hive system, the scale can be expanded by 5 to 10 times, and a small family beekeeping farm could increase its profit by 200,000 yuan to 400,000 yuan per year. In addition to boosting apiculture and helping beekeepers with technology, our association has also carried out a variety of activities to popularize beekeeping knowledge. We organize learning activities and provide opportunities for young people to gain access to the industry so that in the future, they may be able to give their own contributions to the sustainable development of agriculture. Our association regularly organizes members to learn from important conferences and periodicals related to agriculture and keeps them up to speed of national policy. We also participate in cloud learning activities to reinforce relevant knowledge and open up our minds so as to better contribute to the sustainable development of agriculture, ecology, and rural areas. For example, recently we group started the 2021 National Apiculture Industry Conference and the 5th National Propolis World Conference. We regularly read the Journal of Bee, Apiculture of China, and Apicultural Science and Technology, etc. We learned from the 15th Leaders Summit of the Conference of the Parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity, the White Paper on Biodiversity Conservation in China, and Industry Development Plan for National Animal Science and Veterinary Medicine during the 14th five-year plan period. We also organize members from time to time to visit nearby beekeepers to carry out on-the-spot investigations. We also made field research and learning activities at the Honeybee Biology Scientific Observatory of the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs, with the goal of helping beekeepers increase the selling price of high-quality honey products. Our members made several field trips to inspect the feasibility of product traceability technology and its application, laying a research foundation for the cause of rural revitalization. At the observatory, the instructor also gave special practical lessons to the members based on professional beekeeping knowledge and the development trend of smart agriculture, explained the details of the sales of honey products, such as how to do sterilization in post-packaging and how to start online purchase channels. And he also introduced how to use their high visual traceability system to solve the problems of beekeepers. And we also organize lectures on bee-related knowledge to improve the understanding of members and other interested students on beekeeping expertise and the development trend of smart agriculture, guiding them to think profoundly about current problems and to turn advanced theory into results. The content of the lectures include not only popular science on honeybee species, the living habits, and species distribution, etc., but also reports on cutting-edge knowledge such as apitherapy, honeybee biology, and smart beekeeping industry development. Our lectures are based on important academic papers and test reports on the beekeeping industry. And we also adopt various methods to make the lectures interesting and easy to understand. We show them our digital beehive, comic strips, and some interesting videos. So our lectures are quite popular among students. From the very beginning, the Digital Hive Research Association has deep dived into the field of digital beekeeping popularization and application. Insisting on doing scientific research upright and aiming at the frontiers of the industry, we have contributed our own youthful strength in plenty of fields, such as the integration of industry and education, quality education of Chinese students, the increase of beekeepers' income, poverty alleviation, rural revitalization, and regional economic development. And as a model of science popularization associations, we have made our efforts to publicize and promote the most advanced digital beekeeping equipment, directly benefiting over 50,000 people. We have made in-depth field research for over 500 days and devoted ourselves to regional beekeeping planning, industrial development, and training of high-quality beekeeping personnel. Through all these activities, we have helped to create a huge quantity of jobs with a direct economic value of more than 100 million yuan, creating good economic, ecological, and social benefits. Our members won more than 60 national and international awards in various fields such as academic research, innovation, entrepreneurship, social practice, and voluntary service, and published 15 professional academic papers. They attained more than 40 authorized patents, participated in national and international conferences, gave speeches more than 10 times, and also reported to relevant experts, leading government officials, and academicians of Chinese Academy of Engineering many times and gained recognition. Focusing on the beekeeping industry, our team took 5 years to carry out field research, to the development of products, and to the final application of the digital hive system. We also have our footprints all over Shanxi, Fujian, Ningxia, and finally promoted our system to Xinjiang. Now we have carried out cooperation on product sales and beekeeping techniques with countries alongside the Belt and Road routes, such as Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan, matching with local agriculture and helping them upgrade traditional beekeeping techniques to boost the local economy. In the meanwhile, we managed to achieve zero emissions in sustainable agriculture, which has been well received by beekeepers in these countries. The cooperation between China and the countries alongside the Belt and Road in apiculture are very close. And we also hope to share this sweetness with young friends from these countries. We will be aiming at the demand for full intelligence at the production end, developing beekeeping robots and drones, of course, in the future, and finally achieving the goal of creating an unmanned smart beekeeping farm to help the sustainable development of agriculture and ecology. The Digital Hive Research Association aims at the first rank in the beekeeping industry with Chinese bees, and we shall be a pioneer of the Belt and Road Initiative and contribute our own youthful strength in sustainable development. That'll be all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yang. That was a very comprehensive presentation. I think it was enlightening to see how you use all the technologies to build this little hive, and particularly using data processor to monitor the temperature and humidity changes in beehives, which helps beekeepers work more effectively. You also brought this innovation to other countries. Amazing work. Thank you for your intervention. I think 子乔这边的网络是好一点了，你要不要继续从刚刚你断掉的，应该是第四个部分那里。
Miss Ziqiao, I think your internet connection is improving. Would you like to continue?
子乔，你现在的网络可以吗？
这样可以。
Miss Lee, is your internet connection announced?
没有看到你的 PPT。
Because we haven't seen your slides yet. Maybe you need to share your screen. Yes, we can see it now.
应该是第四个部分而已。
I think you stopped at part 4. Maybe you can go from there. Sorry about the bad connection. Now I will continue the presentation starting from part 4. Part 4 is about the wings in blue sky, aims to protecting birds. And as the zoologist said, that with care we can protect, and with help, birds can be saved. And currently birds are under huge threat with their habitats depleted and the number of species decreasing. But we are not aware of the existential threat of birds, and the protection of birds is very imperative. Therefore, we had the Wings in Blue Sky program. In Guanghu First Primary School and other schools, we carried out bird watching activities to popularize the knowledge of birds among them and lead them to care for birds. For college students, we have organized the birds watching events and guide the students to care and understand the birds around them. And in April every year, we will work together with Huazhong Agricultural College Museum to implement the knowledge of birds caring into people's minds. In addition, every week, our bird group will have carried out the regular birds watching and birds program or bookmaking program, and the bird species observed has reached 209. The data will go online and to support policy making. On our campus, the data of the birds have been increasing with the continuous efforts, and we have established the first of its kind in Hubei province, a bird watching base, and that is the second across the entire province apart from Shennongjia. And rural areas are the place gathering a lot of birds. All volunteers of our association and support the programs led by government to popularize the important role played by birds in the ecosystem, to make people aware of this. And also we are promoting the not harmful agricultural practice to help the birds. We are very happy to see that an increasing number of people are joining us. During the past 22 years, the association has attracted a lot of young students to participate in the environment protection actions and contribute to the sustainable development of rural areas. The association has received the support and the sponsorship from UNEP and other organizations. And we have been covered more than 30 times by China Daily, China Youth, and other media outlets. And we have received the Civil Award in the National Volunteer Service Program competition, and we are the Best Service Project Award in the 400 series and the Civil Award in National Service Volunteer competition. We are not just promoting the green idea, and we have also achieved our dreams. Zhang Yurui in 2016, as the representative of our association, went to Manila to participate in the first Green Economic Forum, and also Zhao Yurui and Yuan Ruihan participated in the 10th International Youth Summit on Energy and Climate Change. Our members, such as Wang Fengzhu, has been hired by the UN as youth advisor, and a lot of members have taken action in multiple fields to promote green development. And we are not alone on this. The Green Association has made many concrete efforts, and all the achievements are not possible because of the efforts of the volunteers and also the support from people from all walks of life. Facing the future, we will implement the lucid waters and lush mountains are the invaluable assets. As the saying goes, one person can walk very fast, but a group of people can go further. We are very much looking forward to your participation in the boost of rural revitalization and the sustainable development of rural areas with making the youth efforts. Lastly, welcome to China and welcome to Wuhan. Thank you, Ms. Li, for your sharing. Despite the connection issue, we can still say that the association is very time-honored with more than with 22 years of experience, and you have combined the environmental-based, protection-based courses into the activities of primary schools and middle schools and even colleges, and increasing their awareness about wastewater treatment and birds protection.
Dr. Ari Bascoro. Dr. Bascoro is doing his PhD in development planning, management and innovation at Asian Institute of Technology in Thailand. He's a founder of Margo Myoyo, which was established in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic to support local communities in Indonesia to tackle the challenges caused by the pandemic. It gathered youth and carried out several interesting activities at the local community. We'll see what they do from his presentation. Dr. Bascoro, yeah, you are ready. So the floor is yours. You have up to 15 minutes. Thank you.
Can you see my screen, please?
Yes, we can see your screen.
I would like to say thank you so much for a really grateful opportunity, and good afternoon, everyone from Bangkok, Thailand. Okay, well, I'm Ari Baskoro and I'm the founder of Karang Taruna Margomulyo in Indonesia. Well, firstly, let me to explain a little bit about my association. Karang Taruna Margomulyo is a youth association that I and some of my friends founded in the mid of COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia. It was in March 2020, to be precise. Actually, the establishment of this association can be said that to be product of my boredom after graduating from my undergraduate program. So the story goes that that time I graduated in the midst of COVID-19 virus outbreak pandemic, and it was really difficult to find a job because almost all offices and companies were closed due to the impact of COVID-19 pandemic, which resulted in many companies also closed and the termination of the employment, and many migrants from my village are forced to return home and they are unemployment at home. In addition, many youth cannot continue their studies due to the emergence of COVID-19 virus has stopped various school activities. As a relatively remote area in Tulungagung Regency, access of the internet and some of the digital technology is very limited in my hamlet. Day after day, very boring, until in the end, I invited several village youth and we discussed to create a positive activity. The initial form of the discussion was how we can do or create activities so we don't feel bored at home. But as time went on, we got a positive response from the hamlet residents and also the local community. And finally, we did an open requirement for new members and register our organization with the village office so that the village government could find out that there is period activity moving on in our hamlet. So in this part, I can say that our association just like a small association working the hamlet community, and also this is like the new association, but this really helpful for the people. Then day by day past, we hold discussion with the village government and various other communities to discuss activities that have a positive impact on the progress of the hamlet people. Some of the results of the discussions break several work programs, such as in the economic field, we can say in the local economy, in the Dusun market, we call it Dusun market, which has a hub every Sunday. The concept of this market aims so that the people in the hamlet can or tools to fulfill needs such as knives and so on to be sold in the market, so that they have, in addition, at the same time on Sunday at the Dusun market location, several activities will also carry out to support public health, such as gymnastics, cleaning the environment, and so on. The establishment of this hamlet market was fully supported by the village of government, of course. In addition to moral support, the village government also provide us the financial assistance for the construction of the simple hamlet market. Later on, I will show you the picture on this market. Apart from that, other activities related to economic aspect are provision of online sales facility for various products from the local residents. Actually, this is a big opportunity for them because we are creating some portals, like also we are creating some online market. In this case, me and some of my friends register and open stalls on several online sales portal and upload various goods and the local products in the form of snacks, food, and things and so on. An online sales portal that we do is really growing rapidly. In fact, almost every day buyers from several areas outside the Regency and even outside of the Java Island also buy product from us. This is very helpful for Dusun community, for the full community and the rural community, especially for those who have experienced termination of the employment to the COVID-19 pandemic. And another activity also in the economic aspect is to improve the quality of existing products. So we are creating some trainings and also like the socialization activity. So we are talking with people, we are discussing with people, and we are innovating how we can make the product more professional and attractive so it can take a lot of income and take a lot of markets. So in the environmental preservation and cleanliness, in the term of environment and cleanliness, we carry out Clean Friday in the Friday activities by cleaning up river around the environment, processing waste, and making recycle efforts. This waste recycling activity is supported by the village government and has received some supports from several groups in the community. For the example, there is a small scale local factory that helped us to recycle the organic waste into media, compost for mango cultivation also. what is inorganic we collect and sell to the recycle company. And the third one is the member productivity. Of course, this is one of our important purpose to establish and creating this association. That is to maximize productivity and initiate the several new innovations to be implemented in society and improve the quality of Margomulyo Association. And now this day, Margomulyo Association is really famous in Tulungagung Regency and in our district because it's helpful to everybody in our at the local community, and people so happy with this. And now our online portal is really bestsellers. And another thing is that the focus on this association activities is improving cooperative relations with various institutions and individuals. That I know that this is some of the things that we have to do. We need to we need to do the expansion of cooperation partnership with village government, sub-district government, NGO, business and agents, and everything. So the association can get support in the form of models and that several activities and agenda or projects that have been designed can be carried out by good and properly. Because indeed, one of the very big challenges of establishing this association is budgeting, to be honest. So the initiative is we are collaborating with both of the government and also private entities to assist us providing funding several work programs. And this is what this is our partnership, government and also private institution. Actually, our organization is not that much large. We just like a small youth village association. And this is what we have done already during these 2 years, increasing people's income by providing online sales products and so on, and cleaning the environment, and some activities like volunteers and also charity. And we are also help the local government for supporting them, their program and so on. Okay, this is part of our program. Cleaning the environment and successing for the vaccination and disinfectant sprays. And also, if you can see this one, we are making some training and also like talk with people and how we are increasing the quality of the product and make the product more interactive with package and so on. And this one is our bestseller product in our local community. And this has only happened in the village people, and this one is a bestseller in our online part. This is what I can share to everyone. And thank you so much for this opportunity. And I will join this session full. And yeah, I'm looking for other sharing from people, then we can do best. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bascoro. It's very interesting to see how you successfully engage various stakeholders, for example, the local government and the private sector, etc., and then systematically address the challenge in the local community from economic, social, and the environmental perspective. Thank you for sharing. We now go to Cambodia. So our next speaker of the day is Mr. Ruxmay Phao. Currently, he's doing a master's degree in natural resources management at the Asian Institute of Technology. He is a representative from We Farm Association. We'll see how they combine agriculture, tourism, and education together to support farmers in Cambodia. Mr. Phao, you have the floor for up to 50 minutes, please. Mr. Phao, we can see your slides, but we can't see you.
So now you can hear and see my slide clearly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ruxmay, and I'm from Cambodia, but currently I'm doing my master degree in natural resources management in Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand. And today I'm going to present to you about our youth association, We Farm Agriculture and Agrotourism Community Program in Cambodia. Okay. But before going to the presentation, I would like you to watch this video so that you can see the overview of our association.
សូមស្វាគមន៍មកកាន់ទឹកដីខេត្តបាត់ដំបងដែលជាខេត្តជម្រាបស្រូវដ៏ធំក្នុងប្រទេសជាតិកម្ពុជាជំរាបសួរអ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាខ្ញុំបាទឈ្មោះផៃបណ្ណារាជាសមាជិកនៃយុវជនយុវកសិករ V-Farm ក្នុងថ្ងៃនេះផងដែរខ្ញុំសូមលើកយករឿងរ៉ាវមួយចំនួនទាក់ទងនឹងវិស័យកសិកម្មក្នុងខេត្តបាត់ដំបងជំរាបជូនទស្សនិកជនទាំងអស់គ្នានេះពេលបច្ចុប្បន្ននេះយើងឃើញថាយុវជនដែលចូលរួមក្នុងវិស័យកសិកម្មមានការថមថយជាខ្លាំងដោយសារការធ្វើកសិកម្មមានការលំបាកជាងមុនថ្លៃដើមក្នុងការផលិតក៏កាន់តែកើនឡើងជាងមុនហើយទិន្នផលដែលទទួលបានកាន់តែថមថយឬក៏ជួនកាលខ្វះទីផ្សារថែមទៀតផងអាស្រ័យហេតុដូច្នេះហើយបានជាយុវជនមួយភាគធំមួយចំនួនធំគាត់បែរជាមិនចាប់អារម្មណ៍ទៅទៅនឹងវិស័យកសិកម្មហើយគាត់បានផ្លាស់ប្ដូរទីលំនៅរបស់គាត់ទៅកាន់ទីក្រុងដើម្បីរកការងារដែលទទួលបានប្រាក់ចំណូលខ្ពស់អាចគ្រប់គ្រងគ្រួសាររបស់គាត់បានអាស្រ័យហេតុដូច្នេះហើយបានជាក្រុមយុវជនរបស់យើងខ្ញុំបង្កើតទៅជាក្រុមបណ្ដាញយុវកសិករមួយដែលមានឈ្មោះថា V-Farm V-Farm គឺជាក្រុមបណ្ដាញយុវកសិករដែលបង្កើតឡើងដើម្បីផ្ដល់ភាពងាយស្រួលក្នុងការជួបជុំគ្នារវាងកសិករនិងកសិករយុវជននិងកសិករយុវជននិងយុវជនដើម្បីផ្លាស់ប្ដូរនៅចំណេះដឹងទាក់ទងនឹងវិស័យកសិកម្មឬក៏បទពិសោធន៍អ្វីផ្សេងៗជាច្រើនដើម្បីឲ្យវិស័យកសិកម្មនៅក្នុងសហគមន៍មានការប្រសើរឡើងហើយក៏ជាការជំរុញលើកទឹកចិត្តឲ្យយុវជនត្រឡប់មកកាន់ស្រុកកំណើតរបស់ខ្លួនដើម្បីធ្វើការអភិវឌ្ឍសហគមន៍របស់ខ្លួនផងដែរអាស្រ័យហេតុនេះបានជាពួកយើងបានបង្កើតជាក្រុមយុវជនមួយដែលមានឈ្មោះថា V-Farm គឺត្រូវបង្កើតឡើងដើម្បីជាការផ្សារភ្ជាប់និងជាកន្លែងមួយសម្រាប់យុវជនដែលមកពីតំបន់ផ្សេងៗគ្នាក្នុងការផ្លាស់ប្ដូរនៅចំណេះដឹងបទពិសោធន៍ចំណេះជំនាញទាក់ទងនឹងវិស័យកសិកម្មពីគ្នាទៅវិញទៅមកសកម្មភាពចម្បងរបស់ V-Farm មាន4ទី1គឺ Farm Tour ទី2គឺ Farm School ទី3គឺ Farm Education Camp ហើយនិងទី4ចុងក្រោយគឺ Seed Bank តោះឥឡូវខ្ញុំនឹងនាំអារម្មណ៍អ្នកទស្សនិកជនទាំងអស់គ្នាទៅមើលអ្វីទៅជាកសិទេសចររបស់ V-Farm
បាននិយាយអំពីកសិទេសចរអ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាប្រហែលជាសម័យទៅដល់ចំការផ្កាធំឬក៏ចំការផ្លែឈើជាច្រើនប៉ុន្តែ V-Farm គឺខុសពីអ្វីដែលអ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាកំពុងតែគិត V-Farm នឹងនាំអារម្មណ៍អ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាមកសាកជីវិតបែបសាមញ្ញរបស់ប្រជាកសិករដូចជាការធ្វើស្រែចម្ការការដាំបន្លែតាមបែបធម្មជាតិការធ្វើជីកំប៉ុស្តការចិញ្ចឹមសត្វនិងសកម្មភាពទាក់ទងនឹងវិស័យកសិកម្មជាច្រើនផ្សេងទៀតក្រៅពីចំណេះដឹងទាក់ទងនឹងវិស័យកសិកម្ម V-Farm នឹងនាំអារម្មណ៍អ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាទៅទស្សនាតំបន់ទេសចរមួយចំនួនផ្សេងទៀតដូចជាទៅជិះឡូរីឡើងលើភ្នំសំពៅគយគន់មើលទេសភាពនៅលើកំពូលភ្នំមើលសត្វប្រជើរាប់ម៉ឺនក្បាលហោះចេញទៅរកចំណីទៅទស្សនាផ្ទះបុរាណទៅមើលសំណង់បេតិកភណ្ឌចាស់ៗដែលបន្សល់ទុកតាំងពីសម័យបារាំងនិងតំបន់ទេសចរធម្មជាតិមួយចំនួនផ្សេងទៀតមិនត្រឹមតែប៉ុណ្ណោះពួកយើងនឹងនាំអ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាទៅជិះកង់កម្សាន្តលេងក្នុងសហគមន៍ទៅស្រូបយកខ្យល់អាកាសនៅតាមវាលស្រែជនបទទៅទស្សនាសិប្បកម្មជាលក្ខណៈគ្រួសារនេសាទត្រីតាមបឹងគយគន់មើលថ្ងៃរៀបលិចនិងសកម្មភាពជាច្រើនផ្សេងទៀតនាពេលរាត្រីអ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នានឹងទទួលបានបទពិសោធន៍ដ៏ប្លែកមួយទៀតក្នុងការបោះតង់ញ៉ាំអាហារជុំគ្នាជជែកវិភាសាគ្នាលេងកម្សាន្តផ្សារភ្ជាប់ទំនាក់ទំនងរវាងយុវជននៅក្នុងសហគមន៍ព្រមទាំងចែករំលែកបទពិសោធន៍និងចំណេះដឹងឲ្យគ្នាទៅវិញទៅមកទស្សនវិស័យសម្រាប់ថ្ងៃអនាគតរបស់ V-Farm នោះគឺការផ្សារភ្ជាប់យុវជនទៅនឹងវិស័យកសិកម្មនិងប្រែក្លាយវិស័យកសិកម្មទៅជាវិស័យកសិទេសចរដែលអាចរកចំណូលបន្ថែមសម្រាប់យុវជននិងសហគមន៍ផងដែរការចូលរួមរបស់អ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាជាមួយ V-Farm ពិតជាមានសារៈសំខាន់ណាស់សម្រាប់ពួកយើងជាយុវជនដើម្បីលើកស្ទួយនៅវិស័យទេសចរក្នុងស្រុកតាមរយៈកសិទេសចរនៅចាំអីទៀតតោះមកដើរលេងជាមួយនឹង V-Farm ទាំងអស់គ្នា
Okay, thank you. After you watch the video, so I will tell you about our story, V-Farm. V-Farm was created in 2020, and we are the Youth Agriculture Association. And until now, it is already 3 years. And our member are the young people whose families' background are from farmers from different provinces in Cambodia. But most of our members from Battambang province, and Battambang province is a big agriculture province in Cambodia. And the objective that we create this association because we observe that nowadays youth is less engaged in agriculture. Otherwise, we still observe that many youth they are interested in agriculture, but unfortunately they don't know where and how to engage in agriculture. And the second is that we see that agriculture in Cambodia just focus on the dependent on the yield of the agriculture. So for the agrotourism sector, it's not well developed yet. So all of this we would like to create this association. But in order to implement our project, we have to get more funds to support our project. So that's why we joined the startup in 2021, and we received the second prize in the Bandos Digital Startup Program, which was organized by the National Incubation Center of Cambodia, in short NICC, and funded by the Korea International Cooperation Agency, KOICA. And we was given the opportunity to train for 1 year. And here you can see in the picture, we received the second prize and our training and our course completion. And here is our activities in V-Farm. In V-Farm, it consists of 4 main activities. One is farm stay and tour. In farm stay and tour, we offer the people who are interested in stay connect and learning on how the people community surviving. And we offer the package. For example, it can be a farm visit, it can be living locally, and it can be staying connected to the nature. And here you can see our photos collection. The second activity is farm school. For the farm school, we provide you with the young people, the university students, and the researcher who want to get the real practical experience from the farm. So we have all of them. We organize so that you can go to learn with the farmer, and you can also stay with the farmer, for example, for 1 week or up to 3 weeks or 1 month, depend on your favorable. And also we offer the training for this section 2. However, the farm school was not successful yet, and we have to improve and develop it more. This one is farm education, the third main activity. For the farm education camp, we just gather the youth together. We organize a trip together, and we have camping. So we just connect together, we share together, we learn together, and all of this we get experience, and especially related to the sharing in agriculture from the youth perspectives. This is another activity, farmer market, but it's not the main activity. We organize the farmer market since January 2022 until now, once every month, in order to promote the local products, for example, agricultural products, as well as OTOP products. And also to use this place like an advertisement of our youth association, and also to scale up our farmer communities as well. Here is another activity, seed bank. In seed bank, we work like to conserve the local varieties, so that at the same time we can generate more food plants, and also we can maintain the biodiversity of the plants or the crops. And here is the last main activity, farm shop. In farm shop, we would like to create the platform. It can be the application or it can be website in order to let the farmer to sell their products in this platform. But unfortunately, this project was not there yet because there are a lot of issues that we have to address. For example, in terms of fund, it requires a lot of fund money to build up the application or website. And when it comes to management, the making contract with the farmer, collecting product from the farmer, logistics, all this combined together disrupt our work success. Here you can also become our sponsor and volunteer. Until now, we haven't received the profit from this project yet. That means we just only depend on the budget that we get from the sponsor to spend in our project and not yet receive the benefit yet. But anyway, we have a lot of youth, have a lot of farmers to generate their income. And here our plan in the future, we would like to scale up not only in Battambang, but we will spread to other provinces along the Tonle Sap Lake because this area are rich in agriculture and many others natural tourism sites. Our main challenge is that we have not enough human resources and funds. And also our members are with limited time. That means we cannot conduct the work completely. So we need more human resource who can work with us throughout the project. Here's my personal perspective related to agriculture in Cambodia, because I see that in Cambodia, 75% of the people living in the rural area and they are engaging in agriculture. And agriculture alone share 22% of the whole GDP. So it is better if we can to transform agriculture into the agrotourism so that we can generate the income from both ways. One is from the productivity from the agriculture, and second in the services from the agriculture. And the second one is that in order to engage those youth in agriculture, you have to create agriculture more easy and more precise, more yield, more income, so that the precision agriculture, smart farming is the best option for this one. So maybe in the future, youth can be the young smart farmer in the communities. And the last one is that our project, we hope that in the future, maybe we can apply the blockchain technology so that it would help a lot in terms of farm traceability, tracking, farm traceability, payment and settlement, logistic, making a smart contract, etc. These all we're responsible a lot to the food safety, food security, and anything else. And here is our contact. So if you are interested, you can contact us with this phone number, email, and also we have our own website. You can go and check it. And we also have our social media VFarm. But finally, I would like to include my presentation. So in overall, we have a lot in the agriculture sector in Cambodia. For example, one, we engage a lot of youth in agriculture. Second, we are among the first actors in Cambodia who work on agrotourism. And we have to improve the community farmer livelihood, both in terms of income and knowledge. And also the last one, we believe that education is the main objective, the main activity that we use in our VFarm, because we believe that education is very important in the development. Thank you for your attention. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Bao. Thank you for your comprehensive presentation. It's interesting to see all the activities that your organization is doing at the farm, like farm stay and tour, seed bank, etc. And especially you try to engage youth to agriculture, which is very important. And also thank you for sharing some of the challenges that you face, like not having enough human resources or funds, which I believe are common for many other students association or startups. Good luck and thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Now I'll move to our last speaker. We have the pleasure of welcoming Mr. Mark Pong San Juan. He is a graduate student of arts in education in the Philippine Normal University. He is also currently the president of the Comparative Education and Students Critical Leadership Society, a newly established organization this year. The association aims to support lifelong learning and provide educational access to the marginalized. Okay, so Mr. San Juan, the floor is yours, please.
Hello, thank you so much. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, so I'm currently the president of a newly established organization. I'm Mark Ponce Cruz San Juan. I'll be presenting Comparative Education and Students Critical Leadership Society of the Philippine Normal University. So to give you a brief historical background of the organization, this organization was founded only last July 22, 2022, and was formally launched during its initial activity on November 5, 2022 at the Philippine Normal University. So the organization was launched in the university as well as on its Facebook page, Comparative Education PNU 2022, if you want to look it up. So the organization is okay, so it started with the idea that creativity may be the key to every progressive nation, a stepping stone for human development and sustenance, and the foundation of today's prosperous generation. So in the Philippines, it's somehow difficult for us to urge the youth, especially the teenagers nowadays, to commit themselves to do activities for the community. And aside from the youth, we also are trying to engage our young professionals or the working class to also commit to these activities, because most of us are busy working and earning money for ourselves and families, that we can no longer commit to help serve in our communities, even though we have the eagerness to do so. So there are times that we are compelled to look away at the hardships of our fellow men, even though we know that somehow we have a way of helping them. So this is primarily because of our responsibilities at home and at work. So even though there are people who are used to doing volunteer work during high school or during college, most of them can no longer do it once they start working. So um, we believe at CES-CLS that if one day everyone is committed to completing their work and is willing to contribute responsibly, eradicating social oppressors and fostering equal opportunity for all Filipinos, we may be able to achieve humankind solidarity and growth. So for our vision, we envision CES-CLS to be a leading graduate student teacher education organization that will aid in the promotion of lifelong learning and the provision of educational access to marginalized sectors, so that everyone's right to an education can be realized. So this organization is formed in the graduate school of the Philippine Normal University. So our members are mostly masters and doctoral students. And since we are molding future education leaders, we would like to encourage them and to give them the opportunity to do uh, what do you call this, community outreach programs together with comparative education in order for them to be better education leaders in the future. Because aside from their duties in the schools, teachers in the Philippines also have duties with our communities. So later I'll be discussing more about our community duties as teachers. So for our mission statement, we envisioned our mission is that CES-CLS is dedicated in providing meaningful learning experiences in the field of comparative education. That is one. And then beyond the classroom, that is where the community services and outreach programs comes in. As lifelong learners, acquiring and producing knowledge and skills to contribute to the development of the field and making informed decisions in scientific and other contexts to benefit the nation. So aside from their functions as teachers, as principals or school heads, we would like our graduate students to be active in participating with activities of the community. And some of these activities will also be uh, spearheaded or led by our members. So in the Code of Ethics for Professional Teachers in the Philippines, there's an article here, Article 3, the teacher and the community. It states that every teacher shall provide leadership and initiative to actively participate in community movements for moral, social, educational, and economic and civic betterment. So as teachers, we do not only compel ourselves to be part of the schools, or we are not entirely engaged within the boundaries of our schools. We also are encouraged and asked to uh, reach out to the community and serve them as well. In Section 6, it is stated that every teacher is intellectual leader in the community, especially in the barangay. So the barangay is one of the units in the towns or municipalities of our country. So it's like certain areas, and shall welcome the opportunity to provide such leadership when needed, to extend counseling services. That's one of the functions of teachers in our country. So aside from teaching, they can do or provide counseling services to uh, the community as appropriate, and to actively be involved in manners affecting the welfare of the people. So uh, in comparative education and critical leadership society, we want, again, the students to not only learn about their functions as future education leaders, but also to be part of uh, movements or activities for the communities, especially in marginalized sectors. So currently, I'm the president. I'm Mark Ponce San Juan, LPT, or a licensed professional teacher in my country. So I'm currently taking my master's degree, major in curriculum and instruction at the Philippine Normal University. And our advisor is Dr. Arlene C. Marasigan, an assistant professor of the Graduate Teacher Education Faculty of the same university. So we also have partner organizations, since the recently put up organization is will be providing webinars primarily to our students. We need partner organizations so that we can organize and put up those outreach programs. So one of those organizations is the Lakbay Lapis. This is the organization of Dr. Marasigan, wherein she conducts outreach programs and receives donations to be brought up to the depressed areas in Atimonan, Quezon. Another partner organization of CES-CLS is the PNU Graduate Student Council. This is the graduate council for, the student council for the graduate school of the Philippine Normal University, which um, serves as the moderator for our student activities, since we will be conducting student activities via webinar and through outreach programs. And lastly is the Alpha Phi Omega PNU petitioning chapter. This is my organization during my undergraduate years at the university. So this is a service organization, and mo this organization provides the organization CSCLS with donations from our alumni members. So most of those are school supplies and food packs that we distribute to uh, what they call this communities, particularly through Lakbay Lapis. Okay, so prior to the what they call this prior to the founding of the organization, I, together with Dr. Marasigan, has been doing donation drives and community services through our personal organization. So prior to the organization of the CES Comparative Education Society, we were able to provide 50 food packs and school supplies. So these food packs and school supplies, together with books donated by the Philippine Normal University and other universities and partner organizations, were brought over to Atimonan, Quezon, to one of the schools there and to one of the barangays there to be distributed to the residents. So doing this, we realized that we would like to encourage our graduate students to do the same and to experience the same. So because most of these activities were done or are being done uh, in schools to serve as their location. But we thought that if the, let's say, the principal or the school heads of those schools are members of comparative education and of our organization, and they learned about these activities, it will be easier to locate schools that are willing to accommodate us, or it will be easier for schools to locate um, areas wherein we can do donation drives, and then they will be able to be accommodated through us. So together with the organization, our personal organizations, and the schools or the local schools within the community, we will be able to provide school supplies and books and other, let's say, food packs to the community. So because in the Philippines, we usually the schools usually help the communities during typhoon as evacuation centers. So that's mostly their functions for the community. But through these activities, or and through this organization, we will be able to encourage and to teach our future education leaders that there are also other things that the schools may do or may provide uh, to the communities around them and to the far off communities within their area, let's say in their region. So our first activity and launching as an official organization in the university was done on November 5. So we were lucky to have Dr. Maria Manzon from the Sophia University of Japan to serve as our resource speaker and discuss with us what is comparative education and education for sustainable development, since they are launching ESD as one of their programs in Sophia University. So in this webinar, we were, since there are certain restrictions in our country due to the pandemic, so we did the webinar uh, via Google Meet and together with a limited face-to-face audience, so that those students who can come to the university can personally meet our resource speaker and discuss with her uh, about comparative education. So during this webinar, we have students from Malaysia. We have four. Two of them are taking PhD in curriculum and instruction, and two of them are taking PhD as well in educational leadership and management. And then we also have several Filipino students as well. Most of them really are PhD students because in our experience in the organization, we find it easier to invite PhD students, since most of the master students like me are very, let's say, busy with their current schools, because masteral students like me are mostly at the beginning of their careers, unlike our PhD students are mostly in the administrative part of their careers. Okay, so we also have some pending activities. So these are two of the webinars that we will soon be offering our members. One is the webinar on bridging the gaps on the new normal, because in our country, we are still trying to shift from the online modular learning or distance learning to face, and then there are still areas wherein we cannot do the face learning, and we we find that having webinars like this will be able to provide best practices in teaching and assessment during the new normal as topics for our not only our uh, teachers who are currently experiencing distance education, but also to our students that are currently writing their thesis and dissertations about the experiences in the new normal. And then another one is tara usap tayo para sa mental health mo. In English, this is let's talk about your mental health. So this webinar will be discussing about mental health issues and how to cope with mental health concerns for our students, since our graduate students are not only experiencing mental health problems or stress due to graduate studies, but also because of their personal and work related problems. And lastly, currently I have here 50 packs of school supplies and food still waiting to be distributed, because we are actually planning to do or to organize a donation drive together with our uh, members. So this will be it was supposed to be our first donation drive, but unfortunately due to constraints of the limited face-to-face activities and the upcoming Christmas break, we have to postpone this event. So we are currently have 50 packs pending to be distributed. So we are currently looking for uh, what do you call this? A daycare area or the press community wherein we can distribute these food packs donated to us. So I think that's the end of my presentation about our uh, organization, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Mr. San Juan. Thank you for your presentation. Though the association is newly established, you have planned many activities ahead, and we are really looking forward to seeing more outcomes in the future. As we don't have much time left, so I'll just I saw some questions posted by our audience. Many ask for contact information from our speakers. So our guest speakers, if you would like to leave your contact information, please feel free to do so. And in the Q&A box, I found a quite long question proposed by Mr. Tan. He would like to ask a question. Okay, before we do that, let's welcome back our guest speakers. Could you please turn on your camera again? Let's do a short Q&A session. So the remaining guest speakers, please open your camera. Okay, great. So as you can also see from the Q&A box, there is a question. He would like to ask a question sincerely from all guests and hosts who are attending or sharing in this meeting. So far, he already heard about your sharings and had learned about how to improve related agricultural technologies and related program and project for students, community to increase more chances to recognize local agricultural circumstances. So will you think that this within a view of education sustainable development are kind of improvement for intellectual or agricultural concerning consciousness, or an improvement for increasing the minds to realize the significance of environmental issues? So the question is quite long, and I'll offer a couple of seconds for our speakers to think about, and feel free to jump in to answer this question. Do we have a volunteer guest speaker? Okay, maybe this question is a little bit hard to answer, but just let's speak in general. There's another question asking about, let's see.
I think I'm gonna answer this question.
Oh, okay, please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. So he just brought about the concept of concerning consciousness. I think the concerning consciousness could be also translated into minds or care or thought on sustainable development or on agriculture, on farmers or on rural areas. I think they the concerning consciousness, they don't come from nowhere. If you are not from a village, you do not grow up in a village. Your entire life is in the city. It's common that you don't have interest in these things. So I think that if we wish to make our students or teachers care about agriculture and the relevant areas of sustainable development, they have to be aware of the current problems, to know that you, me, and everyone is related and could be influenced if the sustainable development is not to be achieved. So I think that awareness itself is the first and the most urgent problem of in this field. I think the sustainable development includes many aspects, but most of them are concerned with agriculture. There is a problem, or rather I should say situation in China, and I think it's also true to everywhere else in the world, that when we talk about agriculture, we think of hard labor, we think of low income and jobs that are not as distant as in other fields. So agriculture is long forgotten, not received by the general public. Young people would not choose the field as long as they have other options. So I think now the Chinese government and non-governmental organizations are aware of this problem, and they are taking measures. And the United Nations also put efforts to raise the awareness of people, not only young people, but the general public. For example, the 2030 Agenda, Sustainable Development Goals, abbreviated as SDGs. And just as Shiqing just mentioned in the opening speech, the ESDs of UNESCO enrolled education of sustainable development. It involves multiple stakeholders to take actions to raise the awareness of people. And I think the awareness is very important. So as you can see, we have all these organizations and individuals who are on the move. I think that the awareness is the first step to allow people to get access to the relevant fields. So it's quite important. And to be specific, as a graduate student in an agriculture-related university, the Northwest Agriculture and Forestry University, I was lucky enough to take courses of agricultural sustainable development and food security. And I myself was unaware of how urgent the problems are today. Through these courses, I have learned that before 2050, we have to increase up to 60% of the current food production to raise the people on the earth with the existing arable land, which means that we don't have more lands to grow food such as rice, maize, or grains, etc., without cutting down forests or damaging ecological balance. And now, as we are talking, over 800 million people suffer from malnutrition because of the increase in food price. So it's not that we don't have problems, it's that we are unaware of those problems. So my advice to young friends is that take the courses concerned with agriculture or any other fields of sustainable development, even those which with less concern, less relation, slightest relations. In this way, you can have access to this field, and maybe you will grow interested and get in touch with those who are now actually working in the field. So I think the awareness itself is a power. To know is also a strength. And to Mr. Tan, the concerning consciousness is also a awareness. So I think this is my answer to Mr. Tan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yang. That's a very comprehensive answer. And thank you for mentioning the importance of raising awareness towards environmental issues. Do we have answers from our guest speakers from the Southeast Asian countries? Mr. Ramsmayfal, do you have any thoughts on this question?
Yes, I have the answer to respond to your question. Yeah, you see that most of our speaker we focus a lot on agriculture because my opinion is that for every country experience a movement from the agriculture into industrial and then develop services. But agriculture is important because it is related to the food we eat every day to meet our huge demand of the growing population. And then for my part, I think my part is responsible to your answer to your question. We work on improvement for increasing demand to realize the significance of the agriculture or environmental issues. And the education here in my part play crucial roles in terms of like to educate people, let them realize, change their mind to realize more about the agriculture for the youth and also the whole people, especially the farmer, because as you know that when it comes to agriculture, we mostly don't know much about agriculture. If we talking about agriculture, some people in my area just think about doing farming like rice field, etc. But anyway, agriculture is more beyond that. So that's why our purpose is also to increase their mind to think more, to know more about agriculture, especially. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bao. All right, so how about let's have one last minute thought from each guest speaker, just to talk about what's your main takeaways from the discussion that we had today. Just one sentence. This time, how about let's go in a reverse order. Let's start with Mr. Mark Pons San Juan. Could you please?
Yeah. Thank you so much. My main takeaway for today's session is that there are a lot of problems that are supposed to be solved in around the world. So let me just go back to what Mr. Yang said, because somehow relate to what he was discussing earlier. So in my country, the Philippines, so my grandparents were farmers, and my parents were able to work in the field with their parents. So that's what's happened with the trend in our education, is that our parents or my parents would not want me to work on the field because they think that it will be hard work. And that's what other farmers do in our area. So what they do is that they will work hard for their children to take or to go to college and take nursing, engineering, and other courses to take them away from farming. And now that we are experiencing shortage with food, we know how we are now learning how important farmers are. But unfortunately, in my area, if you take agriculture, you'll be working in departments or in offices instead of working on the field. It's because there are instances, those people who work on the field are those that did not enter college. So that's one of the problems that we are currently facing. So I myself am looking at aquaponics, since again what Mr. Yang said is that we are somehow lacking agricultural lands, because it is in my area, it is being transformed into living spaces. So one way of doing agriculture in spaces like this is through what do you call this? Hydroponics. Yeah. So again, even in the educational sector, we also look at educating people to go back to agriculture because that's what the country needs with our crisis in food security at the moment. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. So now we go to Mr. Raxme Fao. Would you please try to keep the sentence shorter? Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Mr. Fao, your mic is muted.
I'm sorry, could you please repeat the question again, please?
Could you please use one sentence to tell us the main takeaways that you gained from the discussion today? Or like one thought, idea about the topic?
Yes, the topic is very interesting and it gives me and also other audience a lot of knowledge related to the education. And we see that education really important, especially in the agriculture, and environmental issue, etc. And yeah, and this platform we can discuss with other participants and to see from other perspective, especially from the China and Southeast Asian. So I hope this will give more informative knowledge to the audience, and thank you very much.
Thank you. It seems that Dr. Ari Boscoro is not here anymore. So let's go to Mr. Yang Haowen. Could you please share some thoughts with us?
Okay. First, I would like to say that I agree with Mr. Pounds. I grew up in a small village, so I know the hard labor of farming, and I feel myself the hard labor. So, but most people don't. So that's why the awareness raising is very important. And I think apart from the awareness raising, our government and non-governmental organizations, they are how to say, take our association as an example. We are now managing to combine the science and technology into the farming, into apiculture, and maybe there are also some associations. They are taking measures to integrate science and technology into other fields of agriculture, and I think this is also a very great way to raise the awareness of the general public, because when we raise the income level of the farmers, the people would understand that agriculture is not a is not a inferior field to other fields. So I think we are going to make spare no pains to continue what we are doing now and make agriculture a better field. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yang Haowen.那最后也请李子乔来分享一下你今天的一个最大的感受吧，有请。
Lastly, I would like to invite Ms. Li Ziqiao to share her thoughts, her takeaway from today's discussion. My biggest thought is that after hearing the interventions from previous speakers, is that youth is more imaginative and creative and enthusiastic in boosting sustainable development. In the future, youth can contribute more to sustainable development. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Li.
Time a bit, and now we'll just jump into the next session without the break. And the next session is a roundtable discussion. So I'll give the duty to Ms. Zhang Zilu.
Hello, everyone. So time flies. Just give me some moment. Welcome you all to come to this youth roundtable section, and I am the moderator of this section, and I'm Silu Zhang from China Youth Climate Action Network. Here's a brief introduction of this session. This session will last from now 4 p.m. to about 5:20. So please be prepared for the coming things. I think it will be so interesting. So some notes for the audience as following. First of all, this session is a 55 minutes roundtable discussion, followed by a 15 minutes Q&A section. And please type your questions in the chat box anytime. The moderator, which is me, will raise the questions to speakers in the Q&A section. So we will first go to the brief overview of speakers' experience, and then we will have some discussion around these speakers, and then I will open the Q&A section to you all. So let's go. So let me introduce the guest speakers. The first one is Miss Noor from. She will share something about the SEAME OTAD and their work. Yeah. And then we will have Mr. Pietro, and he will share something about the clean energy project, CO2 to fuel. And then we have Lin Wu. I think the topic will be about experience in proposing and readapting abandoned built forms in rural China. And last but not least, we will have Chu Wei Chao. I think she will share something about the experience in promoting ESD in Ireland and building partnership with multi-stakeholders. So let's give the round applause to welcome Ms. Noor.
Hello. Okay, I am Nur Afika Amani from Keningau Vocational College, Sabah, Malaysia. And I am a student and currently taking a diploma in culinary art. Okay, since 2021, I have led several initiatives that have successfully attracted teenagers, not only my friends, but younger than me, who are 16 to 17 years old, to participate in various programs, including radio drama competition, international exchange, and roundtable that held virtually. We participate in a 3-month exchange program with several schools in Southeast Asia under SEMIOTEC. Okay, during the class exchange program, we were divided into a several groups and will be assigned a teacher from several countries in Southeast Asia. My group were educated by teachers from Cambodia. She taught us about agriculture. So as a leader, I admit that there were some challenges that my group members and I had to overcome during the class exchange program, such as the time difference between Cambodia and Malaysia, the difficulty in connecting with the teachers who teach us, and so on. However, we managed to overcome every problem successfully. Then, as the word ambassador, my peers and I voiced our concern and our proposed solution in a series of roundtables that hosted by the world, a UK-based youth leadership association that works to empower young people to be change maker. Among the topics we discussed are climate change, health education, women's rights, mental rights, and more. I believe this virtual approach can be one of the platforms to improve the progress of rural development. Thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Noor. And I think the audience Audience must have some questions for you, and we will discuss later. So let's welcome the next one, Mr. Pietro.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pietro Poipat, or Anthony. I'm an environmental activist and the presenter of CO2 to fuel technology. And CO2 to fuel technology is a carbon conversion technology, one that converts carbon dioxide energy into hydrogen energy without the use of electricity derived from energy sources related or emitting carbon emissions. To help reduce and balance carbon emissions and turn captured carbon into pure green energy for various uses. Mostly my work and those I've been involved with has been about raising awareness and finding solutions to combat climate change. But these past few years in particular, I've been focusing on strengthening beliefs and mindset about the climate through education and community development, particularly in the provinces from northern Thailand. Our project has included particularly education of youth on environmental awareness, as well as disaster preparedness, with the help of professionals from hospitals to educate students on how to cope with disasters during simulations or drill. And through this, it will help to strengthen students' belief in and knowledge on climate crisis as well as disaster preparedness. And it couldn't have been done without the support, of course, the hospitals and various provincial and local governments. And support is especially important to communities in the rural areas of Thailand, since cultural art and tradition is deeply important to Thailand, and it will be lost if the communities that they originated from continually suffers from poverty. And it's because of this that myself and others have worked with and promoted the communities in the province of Chiang Rai, and specifically in the Shingkong district, as well as others, in the efforts of helping the people, particularly the elderly of the community, out of poverty and creating a platform where more people can know about them. In this point in our project, we have been working with companies and agencies, and I've even received attention from the Thai government and the Prime Minister of Thailand. Well, from my experience through all of this, I believe that the solution to our climate crisis is really involved with the development of education and sustainability of the people. And it can only happen with the support of not only the people and individuals, as I mentioned, with the community development and community support, and also the government to help support and make policies to create real change. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pietro. Actually, I'm interested in the technology you just mentioned, that how to turn CO2 to fuel. I think we can talk it later more, and how to develop how to raise the awareness of the people from the community is also very important. And I think that is also the other guest speakers, they have their own experience that can bring here today. So let's welcome the next one, Ling Lu.
Everyone, so my name's Lin Lu or Alicia. So I'm now an independent architect and also a lecturer at Wenzhou Qin University in China. And today I'll share about like sustainable rural development from an architectural perspective, with my kind of particular interest in vernacular architecture. So I come back to China at the end of 2019, kind of just before COVID, and it's been kind of 10-something years since I last lived in my country. But within this past 10 years, China has gone through kind of tremendous amount of development, especially with the rate of urbanization, modernization, etc. And of course, this causes a huge amount of transitions in rural places as well. However, I personally believe that no matter whichever society in the world, the core of its culture kind of always lies in the countryside, where there's different geographic climatic conditions, ecosystems, and also leading to different methods of farming, building houses, communications, and habitations, as we discussed earlier today as well. So with this curiosity and kind of reverse culture shock of China for me, I moved myself to the countryside, and also maybe because this is also because my previous years living in New Zealand and Norway, where I learned a lot about the integration of urban-rural studies in architecture schools and practices. So I visited a lot of different rural vernacular houses in Southwest China. And then I finally established, after some projects and practices, I established my studio in Dali, Yunnan. And throughout this kind of last 3 years, I discovered that Chinese young people today, they are rushing into the cities and leaving a lot of things behind in the rural villages. In particular, lots of traditional vernacular houses are abandoned. And sadly, those are the most eco-friendly types of construction for that certain place, because of the use of locally sourced materials, kind of wood, timber, like earth even, that is specific to the place, as well as this, techniques. And similarly, old people kind of are left alone in the countryside with generations of this wisdom of the construction and maintenance of these vernacular houses. As with the construction of my studio, it's actually still going on now, I decided to learn how to build a house with local carpenters, masons, and smiths from the village. But at the same time, as an architect, I realized there are many more important social layers as well in reactivating these abandoned forms, built forms, apart from its physical kind of structures. Because even old houses look young again, nobody might need them still. So this restoration could seem kind of temporary, and then it will decay again. So I hope later with the discussion, I can share more about my reflection around reuse and recycle from a design perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Linglu. I think that's interesting that you provide a new aspect from architect, and also mention the linkage between the village and the cities. And I think we can have more discussion on this area later. And last but not least, let's welcome Qiu Huiqiao, and she's CEO from Wudao Wushe Education for Sustainable Development.
Thank you, Zilu. I started Wudao Wushe Education for Sustainable Development in Hainan Island, which is also my hometown, in 2020, after working in the sustainable development areas in West and South Africa and the rural region for 6 years. And it's important to, Wudao Wushe literally means learning about my home in English. So it's important to see, what is in your home. So the education for sustainable development in an island environment usually requires the education to adapt to the vulnerabilities and also the features of the island, such as its climate sensitivity, oceanic environment, and also the marine biodiversity. And it is important to have a look on the resources in the region what are the individual or organizational actors working for sustainable development issues, and also what are the natural and the cultural resources that we can harness for education for sustainable development. And also, like, based on this resource mapping, we have tried to build up partnership with local communities, NGOs, social enterprises, and also the public schools, mostly at local level. And through the co-creation workshops and also the project-based learning or the service learning program, the youth from the schools are able to learn and also to serve in the rural communities. And the local people and the sustainable practitioners from civil society and the private sectors have become the teachers for the high school students, and they can deliver very diverse perspective and also very useful skills too. And it's also important to see geographically where Hainan is. You know, Hainan Island in China is like in the very south of China, and it's also special for its adjacency to the Southeast Asian region and its similarities to the area in terms of its coastal surroundings. And I know that countries such as Philippines is very similar to Hainan in terms of its weather. We usually have a lot of typhoons. Yeah, and we co-initiated the Sustainable Life Youth Network in Asia, a network focusing on engaging youth in sustainable development in the community level and also sustainable life through partnership with Sources for Actions from China, PRM from Philippines, and also the TVS from Thailand. And in that way, we are able to organize online dialogues to link the youth from rural communities in Hainan with other youth practitioners from Southeastern Asia to share the experience and challenges they are facing. That's all my sharing.
Hey, Chiu. I just found that wait a minute. I just found that what Chiu just mentioned is a little bit similar to what Ms. Nur is mentioned. That I think maybe that's a little. I'm not sure if I'm right, but I found that both of you are trying to engage young people from educator perspective. Rather than Mr. Pietro is more from an activist, and Lin Lu is more an architect. So I am interested in both of you, Chiu and Miss Nur, that from both of you, from your experience, from your side, that what is the biggest challenge in engaging youth to take actions for sustainable rural development? I mean, from your perspective. This is for, especially for Ms. Nur and Ms. Chiu. So,
based on my experience, one of the challenge is to open the eyes of the youth to see the problems happening around them. The average youth is always indifferent and take things for granted without knowing their future consequences. In addition, there is also a lack of allowing the youth to collaborate with the superiors to develop and take into account the suggestions given by them. Then, due to the culture that has been instilled for a long time, academic performance need to be prioritized based on exam result only. This matter has with the spirit of local youth to be consistent in forming a new change policy to the global or a specific country. As we know, it is the thinking of these young people that can make a big impact in solving a problem and making a good change. The world need a youth power.
So if Nur is done with her answer, then I will also talk about my experience. And in my experience, youth is still a group of complexity, and they have shown varying preference based on where they are, their age, and also their access to different type of information sources. If we take the high school youth in Hainan, for example, in Hainan, most of the high school students, they are under a great pressure of the schoolworks. And also, as we know, the pandemic might have very substantial influence on their learning continuity, which causes even more pressure of them to get high score in the school. In that case, I found them have little interest in the matters out of the classes. And also in my interaction with the youth, I also found that they have little knowledge and also the interest in the public issues, not to mention the sustainable rural development in general. And on one hand, I just found that they hardly read newspaper or access information about what is going on in the society at schools. And probably it is because the school only provided them with very limited access to social news, and also because of the political propaganda in the Chinese public schools. They can't really have the opportunity to do the critical thinking most of the time. Yeah, and on another hand, during the weekend, they spend so much time on TikTok, and they can be easily attracted by the content, more amusing and funny on TikTok or other, streamline media platforms, which does not require them to really think more. And I think, the biggest challenge will be, the behaviors shaped at this key stage of the youth. And this will also lead very much challenges for us to engage them for sustainable rural development now and also in the future. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. While Chiu share more about the high school young people, and I would like to invite Miss Lin Lu to share something. I found that you are a lecturer from a university, so I guess you can you already talk some young people from university, or you have some project with them or anything. So I'm interested in what's your experience while you talk or communicate with the young people from the university, and what's their ideas about rural development, and how is their ideas towards this topic, and how you engage them into rural development.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, I completely agree with what Jill shared earlier, especially I guess young people in Asia. We're still very much influenced by Confucianism, like hardworking culture, and it's really hard to kind of foster creative thinking and critical thinking, as we mentioned. So I've been teaching at university, teaching architecture for 2 years now, and what I find is it's very, like, I think, like, young people, they have the energy inside, and then you have to kind of raise their curiosity in a way to get them actively doing something. So I think actually a lot of offline kind of being on site is very important. So for some of the courses I am running, I'm trying to run a wood post, a design studio. So I believe it's very interesting for young people to make things by hand, and then to actually touch the soil, especially in rural settings, and then try to talk with the carpenters in the village to like how they were building houses, because in China, rural settings, I believe there are still carpenters, for example, in at least in Yunnan, because it's quite remote. There are still like carpenters that are aged, I don't know, 60s, 50, 60-year-old. They still building things in their traditional way. And I believe a lot of places in Southeast Asia as well. So it's very important to get young people engaged and actually like doing the things, get their hands dirty, and then to explore. And then for what I had with my students, they actually quite enjoy that when they actually physically engage with their smell, with their touch of the things, of the material. So I think connecting kind of tangible and intangible things are quite kind of crucial for young youth today. And I think it's like most of my students, they grew up not in the village, from the, like myself as well. I was born in a big city, but I'm super interested in rural development because of the knowledge that is in the rural area. And then the dialogue between kind of the old and new, the rural and the urban, the organic and the industrialized is always kind of, they shouldn't be dichotomies. They should be kind of acknowledge, if we could acknowledge both sides, and if we could get them to work together, I think that is a very kind of, that could become a very powerful thing. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Lin. What Ms. Lin mentioned, I learned a lot from Ms. Lin, that you mentioned the linkage between the young people and the old people, the linkage between the village and the cities, and I think that's important. And also, Ms. Noor, she also mentioned that the cross-culture communication is important to get the young people to get involved in a global platform. So we'll talk about that later. And I want to pass the microphone, if I have one, to the youngest guest speaker among us, I guess. I guess he's the youngest, Mr. Pietro. I mean, from your respect, how you get your peer into rural development issue, and what you find that it's efficient, and what you find as difficult. I mean, what's your experience to engage your peer into this topic?
Well, I've worked with schools in like that are really like far away from urban areas, and like there's usually like not really a night and day difference, but like say like a school in like not really completely in the urban area, but like more further in that, students are usually detached or just completely uninterested in certain topics like this, just as Ms. Lin or Ms. Xiu mentioned. Usually people my age are not really interested in this kind of thing. And then when you compare it to maybe a school in a more rural area, it's like for some reason there's usually a lot more interest in that. Maybe due to the fact that in rural areas, kids, the parents are farmers themselves, or do jobs that are related to agriculture. So it's something that's closer to them. But when it's maybe someone from an urban area, it's like it's seemingly something distant from them. And when you curate these kind of activities, you don't want to, and having students do them, you don't really want to come off as you're trying to force them to do it, right? So like the difficult part is trying to make it enjoyable for them. I think that's the most important, because like I've done one of the ones I think was the most memorable for me was doing drills or disaster simulations with the help of professionals from hospitals, and that and because it was such a physical thing, and it's like it involves like a knowledge how to cope with particularly the disaster simulation of a flooding or tsunami. It's such a physical thing that once you get involved with it and you kind of taken by it, it becomes something enjoyable. And I found that the students my age who were during that program was really enjoying it. So yeah, I think enjoyability is the most important thing, because as I said, you don't want to force for people my age, they don't like being forced to do things that they might not be interested in. I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Pietro. I found that Mr. Pietro and Ms. Linglu also mentioned that how to engage the young people in a specific scenario that bring to the specific community to use the wood to really to be accompanied to use the wood. And Mr. Pietro just mentioned that to ask the doctor and nurse to come here to tell them the real experience, that to let the young people to feel that's real, that's useful, that's not fake, that's not someone who taught me, but let me to experience that knowledge. And I realized that is some common experience, even though we are from different area, different region, but this is some common knowledge for us. So I'm also interested, I want to ask Ms. Ner, from your experience, from your project, you just mentioned that you try to engage the young people in policy making process. So what's your experience that can really bring the young people to really engage in this process? What is your successful and unsuccessful experience? Ms. Noor, can you share some experience or insights with us?
I got experience. I've done this online platform in 2021. I joined the competition that called a radio drama. At first, my friend refused to join with me because they think that is a waste of time. We can win, but then we win the competition, and that made my friend realize that we have the opportunity to win at the global competition. So more of my friends are really attracted to join the competition. My young people than me. So I think that is my experience. Okay.
Thank you. That's interesting. That's interesting that you mentioned the competition, because I also found that the young people really like competition. Maybe at first they are not interested, but when you put them in a competition, they will think, I want to win, and they will really engage into that. So thank you for your sharing. So I hope also have the next questions, that is for Mr. Pietro, that given the current environmental and climate crisis, there is an urgent need of innovative solutions in tackling with sustainability challenges. So what do you think are the key issues that young people should consider in the process of design, apply, and assessing new technologies? So that's something about the technology questions that I really want to ask at the beginning.
I guess one thing I can advise is since my project for like the past few years has been so community related and like more about the areas themselves, I think that actually, and I consider this with my own project as well, is that what environmental impact, just like not even just like even like on a smaller scale, what will it have? You know, you have to take that into consideration from everything like where it's placed, what are the side effects of it, and that should be in especially if your technology is designed to mostly like help people's living conditions as like mine. That's the goal of CO2 to field. We're trying to as well as change carbon dioxide energy into hydrogen for potential use. We're also trying to reduce carbon dioxide and balance it out. And yeah, that's you really got to be cautious about it. That's the only advice I can give.
Thank you. So I also have I also have another question that's from organizer, that is to Ms. Ling Lu. The question goes to, in recent years, cultural preservation has become a prevalent topic in discussions around sustainability. So could you share with us the mindset that everyone can learn behind the ecological approach of your architecture design?
Sure. So I can talk about a few points. Maybe firstly, what I mentioned earlier, I believe like kind of during a designer process, the relation to the existing are kind of extremely important. And that is to deal with, we talk about like before urbanity exists, everywhere was rural. So how do you relate the new to the existing, to the old? And then how do you relate rural to what's going on in the city? Also, how do you relate kind of 100-year-old craftsmanship to a new machine-made object? So these are like constant questions to think about, and again, they shouldn't be dichotomies. They should kind of work in favor of each other. It's like designing is always kind of adding. For me, it's never getting something completely new and dropped into this new place, but it's always to observe what is already there, and then the design is kind of a reaction to the existing, to the context. And secondly, I also believe design should be almost like Chinese acupuncture, especially dealing with fragile village situations, meaning maximizing the structures of the old with minimal actions, but very specific interventions is very crucial. Otherwise, we are going to kind of destroy completely the old and then replace it, or it's just an imitation of the old. So, for example, a lot of spatial arrangements in traditional Chinese houses, they were based on kind of old ways of living without contemporary facilities. Many old village houses, they don't have toilets, and then the kitchen is kind of outside, and then or on the side house, so you always have to get out, get a jacket today. And then as modern people, we don't really want that. So these inconveniences will cause a lot of Chinese villagers today, and then they would rather demolish the entire old courtyard that is like beautiful, and then rebuild from zero with like much bigger concrete houses. However, I believe if we could think of a formula or kind of a series of principles that could keep these best qualities that a lot of us could see in old houses, and adding contemporary elements as kind of like acupuncture, doing acupuncture inside the house, we could fulfill these kind of needs instead of having to take down everything. So we have a win-win situation between preservation and innovation. For example, it could be inserting like a small new structure where the old structure is not working. It could be introducing a new drainage system, a water system if the old system is decaying, or designing a new accessible kind of flat roof if part of the angled roof, which needs maintenance, is probably leaking. So these new design as additions or extensions of the old is almost like a young person or like a visitor. When it comes to a local's house, he or she's not trying to invade the owner's house, but trying to live with the local and be part of his home. And then lastly, I think what we mentioned earlier as well, I wanted to add is like, I believe these kind of revitalizing rural places is not just about houses, not just about tangible structures, but what's going on in rural places is extremely important, like mentioned by Mr. Pia Chun earlier. Like, I think it has to be something fun going on. It has to be public events or community gatherings, a craft workshop, or like a place where old people and young people could stay together, a place locals and visitors and immigrants could all meet, and these kind of inserting contemporary programs in rural settings are kind of important. Even, I don't know, young people today, they like music, they like to make things by hand, some of them, and then they like to read. So all of these programs can be kind of inserted into rural places in a decentralized way, I believe. Yeah, that's from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. That's interesting that all of the speakers mentioned the public area, or the public society, the common park that we share, not just about myself, but also about ourselves or our society, how we gather people together in the community, or how to engage young people into the public space to do more. When we talk about public, it's not just the on the community level, maybe the place we are living and the neighborhood, the streets that we walk. When we go to the global level, that we can think more. For me, it's especially we talk about. I always talk about with my colleague or partners about how to understand global citizenship and how can we engage young people in the global society. So the next two questions is also it's not the next two questions. Sorry, that the next two questions is one is for Ms. Nur, and the next one is for Chiu. The questions for Ms. Nur is that we are aware that young people, especially those from disadvantaged groups, are facing barriers in participating in the development agenda. What role can online platforms in improving this situation, and how can young people use them in a safe and critical way?
Okay. After the pandemic, the use of technology is increased. People have started using several applications to connect virtually, such as a Telegram, Zoom Meeting, and Google Meet. The appearance of this application is a new revelation in improving academic standards. Through various programs that are organized virtually, this is able to further improve the learning experience of students, especially those who live in a rural area. Before the pandemic, learning opportunities like this were very limited. Therefore, this is considered as a golden opportunity for students to gain more knowledge. Based on my experience while following the class exchange under Senior Tech with Cambodia and the second class with Korea, my friends and I can add more knowledge. We can get to know their culture, the way they deal with a problem. For example, in Korea, they are more organized in handling waste than in Malaysia. This can open the eyes of the youth to emulate the way of neighboring countries in dealing with the issues of unorganized garbage disposal. This method not only has a positive impact on students, but also on the country. Therefore, through this class exchange program, students can also get to know and learn the language of a country. This will further strengthen the relationship and increase contact. Students who are in rural area will not be left behind in enriching their learning. The teacher also have a role to monitor the student to ensure the safety of the student during the virtual learning process. With the basic needs such as internet and device that any school can provide, students can have meaningful interaction with any of the teachers, experts, and peers. This platform can open a bright opportunity of students to access education around the world, anytime and anywhere, regardless of the student's geographic position, background, and socioeconomic condition. Because this virtual education is at a low and almost zero cost. In addition, this project is able to address the loss of learning resulting from the widely pandemic shutdown that caused the knowledge gap of students to be blocked. Through this platform, we successfully remove the barrier for students to get learning around the world. Youth can also develop their ideas through this virtual platform. For example, me and some of my friends have participated in a series of a roundtable that hosted by their world. During the program, we will give each other suggestions for improvement about the problem that often occur in our respective community. Through a program like this, youth can activate their mind and generate new ideas that can be used as corrective measure. This virtual platform is not only able to improve person learning level, but is also able to inject enthusiasm in youth to help improve the standard of their own community. As a student myself, I really hope that more young people take advantage of this technology trend for the better. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Noor, that you bring up a very important issue that is about social justice. How can we use technology to get more students and young people in rural place that they less access to the latest information, the latest solutions. So when we are thinking or talking about the rural development, we cannot avoid to discuss about the social justice and how can we, by our efforts to try to bridge the gap between the village development and the urban development. And I also see that Ms. Chiu just raised a question that asks you to share the platform with us. You just mentioned some platform, so we can talk about later. And also, next question is for Chiu. As what we learned from UNESCO's global report on the future of education, partnership and cooperation are essential in promoting a sustainable future for all. So from your point of view, are any effective approaches that young people can contribute to global solidarity?
Thank you. Actually, we talk about global society, global citizen, and also global solidarity just now. And for me, there's still macro narrative, which most of the time is not coming from our life or our own experience. And if we want to effectively engage youth for global solidarity, it's important to let them have the ownership of the initiative and also promote the issues based on their needs, their experience, and also their interest in life. And I think I can share some of the experience of Sustainable Life Youth Network in Asia as an example. In this network, youth from China, Thailand, and also the Philippines, even though we are we share very common elements, we are kind of like in a very, very different situation. And we found out, sharing the stories from the personal level, it's a very, very good way to build the trust at the very first place, and also to see each other more like a friend or a partner instead of colleagues or people who only do things together. I think in this way, we can really build a genuine connections with each other rather than, we want to work together for some public issues. So building the relationship is like the first step. And then from the story sharing, and also we have a regular discussion every month, we identify together some of the topics we are interested in and our different needs. And for example, from the Thailand's perspective, we just found the friends from the Thailand, they would like to exchange more on the mechanism and also the policy practices in the other two countries that facilitate youth returning home in terms of the community-supported agriculture and also social enterprise. Because those concepts of the CSA or the social enterprise, they are still very new in Thailand, and also more efforts supporting the CSA and also the social enterprise, they come from the very grassroots level. And in China, we're kind of like the different, we use more top to bottom approach. And we have this strategic plan for rural revitalization and also other policies that promote the rural development. And we have also a lot of practitioners and the regional networks on the community supported agriculture. In Philippines, there are also very much successful CSA practices. So in this way, we just found that the China and the Philippines experience can actually provide the Thailand friends with insights for the policy advocacy for rural development based on the country's specific needs. So in this way, it's kind of like a process. We identify the interests or the topics together, and we find out, the resources within this region, and we see how we can harness all these resources to build a dialogue, between the countries. So based on needs, the Thailand, China, and Philippines, we try to introduce the practitioners in our own country, so we can have a lot of internal learning and also the public sharing among the countries. And in that way, youth from a certain country can benefit from the regional resources. So far, we are still propelling the regional learning on certain sustainability issues, regardless of the language barriers for dialogue for now. And it can also be seen that we have already built up a very much mutually supportive and the trustworthy relationship among the countries and also the youth. And we're still very looking forward to more learning in the future. So I just talk about an example of how global solidarity can be built, and it really requires us to, go back to the original, to the relationship building among the persons, and also we need to have a process of co-creation to see the problems together, to use our resources together, and for now there are still some challenges in this kind of, global solidarity building, for example, there is also a challenge in the fundraising for such kind of, youth actions for rural community development domestically and also internationally, especially when the global economy shrinks at the moment. Yeah, but we're still working on that. That's all.
Thank you. Chu just mentioned the real issue that how to get fund. Yeah, and I think the discussion on how to build a global society, how to be a active citizen, a global citizen, how to build up the global citizenship for the next generation is always the topic that we are concerned. And especially in the circumstance, I think that just my own idea that the global society goes to more conservative. So in such a circumstance, how can we promote or to make more people to believe, or they really believe that it's still important that we should get together rather than I just protect my own area. And she'll also mention a very important issue that how to get the young people when we try to promote a policy, how to make the young people think that they are in a dominant rights. They have the dominant rights. They can change. That I think that's also important. So before I close this section, also have last questions for you all. That would you to you all, that would you like to share your expectations for youth-led actions in the future? What's your expectations and what you think that is important for the young people to get them to do more, and what you can do or what your organization can do to get them engaged in these issues? So last questions for you all.
I expect that more schools open the opportunity for students to participate in any program virtually to help improve students' self-confidence and communication skills. Small steps like this can have a huge positive impact in the future.
I can share as well. Yeah. Sorry. So yeah, I totally agree with earlier what Ms. Cho mentioned, like the bottom-up action. I think should be generated more often from youth, especially a lot of development in China is done in the top-down way. So I think how to get youth together to have more youth and the locals and in the rural area to get involved in more bottom-up actions. And also, I think that the exploration of kind of an authentic rural identity is very important in terms of helping young people to understand their own identity as well. I had my identity crisis when I still have maybe, but I think as I mentioned earlier, I think every country's identity, a big portion of its identity lies in the countryside. That's what makes us different in a way. In addition, I think kind of collaborations between different professions among young leaders are also important, so that we're not just talking within our little perspective, but we can, it's kind of it's great what's happening in these 2 days. Yeah, that's from me. Thank you.
I think I will take the next. From what I can see among all the social issues, the sustainable development for rural areas, it's still marginal among all the issues. While the rural population actually accounts for the 42.5% of the world total population, and the rural areas can become even more vulnerable under the public health crisis and other social crises, and the lack of proper health care and the lack of the access to quality education, gender inequality, and also the environmental pollution under the urbanization transition, they are still the pressing issues in the rural areas, and they are also the sufferer of the urbanization. So in this kind of situation, I found that some trained and experienced youth in rural areas are still scarce. And in this case, rural development absolutely requires more attention and the contribution from the youth-led actions. And therefore, I would like to call for more youth-led actions to make the rural development part of your agenda, and because that is very important for the whole world's sustainable development. And from my organization's perspective, I think we'll keep on linking the youth from the urban areas to the local communities in the rural areas, to make them see the needs of the rural areas and try to take actions to promote, the sustainable development of the rural areas. And at the same time, we were also working on the exchange of the youth in the China and the Southeast Asian countries. So in that way, the experience can be shared regionally, and also they can transfer the experience into their action scenario. And I think that is what we're going to.
I feel like my point of view is kind of biased because I'm someone from most of my school life I spent in schools in rural areas, very far away from the urban areas, and I kind of have a bias in a way to see things like we do need support in that. So I feel like I still want to see more and hear more from youth, as more than I do now, because I want to keep doing projects where I'm able to have people who professionals or people in their field be able to come and educate students, and then be able to hear the reciprocation from the students. I want to hear more from students, because I think I still want to see both sides, both urban areas and both rural areas. So I feel like I still have more to learn about education in rural Thailand in general.
I think even though you talk about a lot about your point of view, might not be so may have some bias, or you cannot provide so many opinions. But for me, I think you just raise a very important voice from you, that you want to listen to more opinions from the young people. And I think that is what young people like us, like all of us, that really want to access to more people around the world, to really learn another community from other people, from the people who live in that community. Therefore, what Ms. Nur achieved just mentioned, to build up the platform for all is important. So thank you all. And we also have some questions from the audience, and the audience give you, each of you, a questions. That's good. The first is for Ms. Chiu. The audience wants to know, what efforts do you think can be done to ensure mutual understanding between young people from the outside and local rural communities?
Okay, thanks, Chanka, for this question. Actually, in my experience, it's important to have some learning process, not only in terms of the cognitive change, but also the emotionally perspective. For example, in my project-based learning program, the students may have a tour in the village site, and also they may find some problems. They think it's problems. For example, in the last year, we took students to Fishery Island in the south of Hainan, and the students, they found that the people who were eating the areca nuts, they spit the juice to the floor, and they think these are very uncivilized. And they told me that, I have found the behaviors of the local people here, they are not very civilized. So I started to throw some questions to let them find out. For example, I asked them like, when did the local people start eating these areca nuts? And also, what is the change of the village on this island? For example, the road and the landscape, and also the industry here. And then after 2 days, the students, they found out themselves that in the past, the road on the island, they are actually made from earth and also the soil, and they are not made from the cement. And so it's not really, it will not really cause the hygiene issues if they spit on the soil, because the local people consider the areca nuts as part of the nature, and spitting the nuts juice to the ground is not actually an unhygiene or uncivilized behavior in their perspective. And when the students found out that, they start to change their mindset to consider such kind of behavior uncivilized. Instead, they think it as something cultural, and also the a locally built or locally shaped behaviors. So this process of learning actually give the students the way of the critical thinking, and they start to have the understanding of the local people. And apart from that, we also have some cultural experience projects within the program. For example, we let the students to learn how to wave from the local ladies, and they are very experienced in using the coconut leaves to wave the very beautiful and also eco-friendly hats. So when the students learn from the local people, they start to have the conversation, and they learn the handicraft skills from the local people. And this is how they actually build more understanding about the local communities and learn the history of their, their experience, and also the community's cultural practices. Yeah, so these are some of the examples that I used in my program. Yeah, I hope my answer will help you.
You just mentioned a specific experience about how to get students to learn the local knowledge from the community, and as an educator, how to inspire students to think about why the local people have this behavior, have these thoughts. And this sharing links to the next questions also from the audience. This question is to Ms. Ling Lu, that cultural preservation is important, but often neglected. So this audience would like to know more about your work. So if you want to share anything about cultural preservation, that is good.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I can also drop a link later. But I studied and worked a bit in Norway, as I mentioned briefly earlier. I kind of grew up in more rural settings, I guess. Although I was born in Tianjin, like a very industrialized city setting. But I looked into a lot of things about wood construction when I was in Norway, and then looking into from a design perspective how we could kind of keep the existing. What do we keep for the existing when we face like a kind of an old house, for example, and then the dialogue between the old and new, and how to study the technique. So preservation is not just the material, for example, of wood itself, but also the logic of the construction from the existing house. And it doesn't mean that we have to use an axe to chop wood again, you know, like hundreds of years ago, but we can use our modern tools, technologies, to have kind of a contemporary design with the same material, with local-based material, and then to use it as a reaction to the existing structure. So I did my kind of thesis on kind of preservation of an old house, an old log house in Norway, and instead of kind of putting it back together, the design approach is more experimental, is to kind of assemble it again, disassemble it almost, and then to combine it with new kind of wood material, but a kind of inherited way of construction logic, and then to turn them into smaller public spaces inside the city. Yeah, I can share that later. But I think, yeah, I think if that answers the question. I was also back in China. I based myself in Dali, although now I teach in Wenzhou between the semesters. I guess Dali is a little bit like Hainan, maybe. It's quite touristy, but at the same time, that brings a lot of people to live there. So in a way, it's got a big kind of youth community there, which is why I like. And then the ways of living is very much more relaxed compared to big cities in China, like Shanghai, Beijing. Usually there's no room for young people to stay because it's very expensive. So Dali is kind of has a strong rural setting, but I think it always have more alternative cultures there, more experimental kind of ground, because things are much cheaper for young people to try. And then there are many resources like from nature. I mean, so for me, it's also kind of my experimental ground as well. So I can test out my design, kind of my own project there, instead of apart from commercial projects. So I almost see it as kind of my design is always like a process instead of a fixed result. Yeah, but I'm happy to share some link on my email later. Thank you.
Thank you, Ling. And last questions for both Ms. Noor and Mr. Pietro, that audience want to know more on the support, how to support the young people needs to participate in creative activities, especially those still in schools. So please.
I think one of the creative ways that I can recommend, such as art and folklore, that I participate in competitions that are organized around the world, like monologue and radio drama. The achievement of a student who have participated in this competition are also able to raise the spirit of other students to strive in the competition, and they will have a mindset to win the competition. And this will also make them to take part in online platform.
Well, one of the projects I've been involved with is one in a district called Xingkong in the province of Chiang Rai, and it was about mainly about promoting the community's product there. If I want to be specific, the community's product is rattan bag. Rattan is a type of plant that in this case it is used to make products, usually kind of furniture, either furniture or bags. And in this case, how I managed, how I engaged young people in this particular activity is have them model with the products and help, and like with photography, and like at first, you know, they weren't used to it, but the thing with people my age is that I think people are the most creative around this age, around my age, and once you see kids or teenagers around my age, they usually don't know what they want to do, but if you can find something in them that they don't even know they're good at, and bring it out of them, they can be really great at it. And that's what happened with the modeling with the products. And as well as a different case in a more rural area called Ban Ba Miang Ma Peak, also in Chiang Rai. It was a filming of the school. It's just a filming of general overview of that specific school, and like we had one of the students or few students who came up and helped with the filming, and that I like seeing that. I like seeing, as someone who likes creative stuff like art and music or kind of stuff like that. I like seeing that in people, and we should think what I'm trying to do, and I think I wish more teachers, more educators can do, is bring that out of students, because maybe it's a bit of an abstract concept, but I think it is something really special that you can see when you're bringing it out of them.
Thank you. Mr. Piatron just shared a very important thing is how to empower the young people during the project, during this process, to accompany the young people, to tell them you are good at something that even the young people don't know. And I think that's so important. So yeah, so thank you all. We are nearly to close this session, and before we closing this session, thank you all the speakers again. I think what we are talking today, the topic, I think it's old topic, but the topic that we always keep thinking, and because of your experience, that you bring experience, your cases and your thoughts into these discussions that really make the discussion, this panel, this roundtable that becomes so interesting, that we mentioned a lot of things such as how to build up the global the global society in this environment, and how to empower young people to use what kind of project or approach to get them to understand the local knowledge from the rural place, such things. So thank you again, and also thank you the audience. Yeah, so I'm going to close this session, and the next session will be the launch of a call to youth-led actions. So we'll take some minutes to rest and go to the next section. Thank you all.
Sorry, we don't have the time for a rest, but thank you all for the speakers and the moderators. We have really learned a lot from this session and the session before. We have gained a lot of valuable experience and heard about your very in-depth reflections on youth actions. And I would like to invite everyone to give a big shout out to them and just to applause for what they have done. Thank you. All right, so next, please allow me to take this chance to introduce to you a very important call that was developed by UNESCO en-route, but also coordinated by a lot of important partners. I'm going to just share my screen now. And all right, this call is called a call to youth-led actions, promoting sustainable rural development towards ecological civilization, as we can tell from the title of this symposium too. And now I'm very pleased to announce that this call is going to be officially launched. But before that, please let me take this chance to introduce this call to you for a bit of more information. So me and my colleague is going to introduce this call from what it is, how was it drafted, what are the key messages from the call, and we have invited our partners to express their opinions through videos, and then we will introduce what happens next. So the first one is, what is it? As you can find from the keywords of the full title of this call, we actually highlight youth-led actions, sustainable rural development, and ecological civilization. So firstly, why do we call on youth-led actions? I think it's because young people, especially those in rural areas, as we have discussed today, are both the generation most threatened by the sustainability crisis and the key stakeholders to tackle with challenges. And then secondly, why do we promote sustainable development in rural areas? It's from the World Bank's statistics that we can tell, although 44% of the world's population lives in rural areas, rural communities have actually been suffering the most loss and damage in coping with sustainability crisis. And then thirdly, what do we mean by ecological civilization? Well, it is actually a very broad concept, and it highlights the integrated development of the environment, economy, society, and culture, and it is a foundational concept of a transformative and sustainable future that we are all looking forward to. And then second, how was this drafted? So the initial stage of this document started with a lot of document review in September this year. The main purpose was to clarify the priority of areas in education for sustainable development and the requirement of use for 2030 and the prospects of future education. And then we conducted case studies from October to November, of which the main findings have already been shared in today's first section. And then the first draft was written and revised from 8th to 20th November, followed by the solicitation of feedbacks and signatures for support. And thanks to our coordinators, we have 306 people, 101 anonymously worldwide to sign and contributed their feedbacks. So based on these efforts, the draft was finalized this week, and I am now presenting it to you. So next is the list of the major documents that we have reviewed at the initial stage, which inspired us with their critical terms on youth strategy, priority areas in education for sustainable development, and prospects for future education. Next, I'm going to invite my colleague, Ms. Niu Xingyi, to share with you what are the key messages from this call. Please, Ms. Niu.
Thank you, Ms. Gong. Hello, everyone. My name is Niu Xingyi, and I am a project assistant at UNESCO Annual. It gives me great pleasure to deliver our key messages from the call for youth-led actions. The notion of sustainable development and ecological civilization is rather complex, and thus we have conceptualized these ideas by identifying 4 prioritized areas for youth-led actions. The first aspect is on environmental protection. We're very heavily dependent on our living environment, and thus it is important for us youth to preserve local environments, to respond to climate crisis, to protect biodiversity, and to reduce the waste of consumer goods. Culture is the source of identity and resilient development. Therefore, we should recognize the value of indigenous lifestyles, languages, festivals, and customs, generate innovative approaches for education and awareness raising, as well as fostering a sense of empathy and compassion among everyone so that people understand different cultural phenomena and identities. Sustainability is also about equity and inclusion. Every single person on this planet should have an equal opportunity in sustainable development. It is crucial that we ensure equal access to skill training, information exchange, and networking services for all. Eradicate systematic barriers for youth participation in decision-making consultations, increase localized support for groups in need, particularly those from disadvantaged and marginalized communities. We should also utilize cutting-edge technology and innovation to empower all actions in sustainable development. We can develop and apply technologies for local communities in an inclusive, effective, and safe manner. We can leverage digital technologies to meet the increasing and diverse needs of the rural population and ensure the responsible and optimized use of technological innovations. Next, taking actions in sustainable development is the process from preparing ourselves with the knowledge, skills, and values needed to taking the initiative in coping with multidimensional sustainable challenges and to building partnership with multi-stakeholders and stand in solidarity with every young person. We should emphasize here that actions in sustainable development is in self-iterative loop rather than a linear process. As we constantly meet with unpredictable challenges, young people should always be prepared to learn and take new leadership roles in new situations, as well as building extensive partnership. Before taking these actions, how can we get ourselves prepared? We can start with equipping ourselves with the knowledge, skills, and values needed for the transition toward ecological civilization by taking active parts in sustainable related classes, workshops, or other forms of educational activities, either it is formal or informal. We can stay informed about the ongoing sustainable development agenda at local, national, and international levels. We can also recognize the value of indigenous knowledge and local culture heritage in promoting long-term development. And as global citizens, we ought to develop a sense of global community and connect local challenges with common global issues. There are multiple ways in which we can take actions. We can design, facilitate, and launch awareness campaigns on key topics related to different dimensions of sustainable rural development. We can advocate for sustainable lifestyles among our peers, families, immediate communities, and larger groups in our society. It is also important to quest for grassroots leadership positions and make reasonable decisions for sustainable rural development using essential ecological principles and knowledge as our reference. What's more important is that we shall always provide support for disadvantaged and underrepresented groups to voice their needs and gain necessary skills to participate in the promotion of sustainable rural development. As we know from the saying that changes happen when our hands are joined together, and this stresses the importance of building extensive partnership. We should join youth-led organizations or networks for capacity building, knowledge exchange, joint advocacy, and collective actions. We can share our expertise, knowledge, skills, and empirical experience with decision makers, community members, and other relevant stakeholders. This will enable us to contribute to the design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of rural development programs. We can work with academia,
governments, nonprofit organizations, and across youth networks, and foster extensive collaboration in building ecological civilization where everyone can thrive. We can also acknowledge the diverse rights of every young person and collaboratively explore appropriate approaches vis-a-vis their respective sustainable development needs. And finally, to empower youth with the ability for full participation, we also call on the education sector to make concerted effort through the following approaches. First, from an overall perspective, the education sector should ensure the provision of quality education and a holistic vision of ecological civilization, and recognize that young people are equal partners in the design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of relevant programs. Secondly, for teachers' professional development, the sector should integrate the education for ecological civilization in teacher education and provide pre-service and in-service support for teachers. Third, from the perspective of teaching and learning, we highlight the promotion of pedagogies of cooperation and solidarity and the reconceptualization of curriculum to embrace diverse ways of knowing and understanding. Fourth, an equitable and transformative learning environment is also needed to ensuring the smooth progress of learning. And last but not least, we call on the education sector to eradicate financial and systematic barriers that prevent young people, particularly those from vulnerable and marginalized communities, from accessing, and fully participating in the consultations for sustainable rural development. And that is all for messages from the call for youth-led actions. And we look forward to expanding it with more like-minded young people around the globe. Next, I'm going to pass it on to Ms. Gong.
Yeah, so thanks for sharing and the introduction. And actually, during the drafting process of this call, we have received tremendous support from various partners, individuals, young people. Now, I would like to share with you the video message from them.
On behalf of the Southeast Asian Minister of Education Organization, or SEMIO, we are very pleased to support the global and regional cooperation in empowering youth for promoting community and rural development and sustainable environment. Young people are the future of our countries. They have the power to make their voice heard and engage in the development of the country, especially for the rural development. With their hands, they can make a difference by taking control of the future development and protecting our environment and ecosystem. Trust in their capacity and believe in their creativity. We should provide them a platform where they can freely provide suggestions and allow them to engage in the rural development process.
This is Faghul Murshid Ahmed. I am a faculty member here in the Department of Development and Sustainability at the School of Environment, Resources and Development, Issues Technology, Thailand. If you look at the demography of the developing countries, we see a large number of the population. Yeah. So we need to focus on them and we need to involve them in making our world economically and environmentally sustainable.
My name is Hong. I'm the co-founder of Here China, a nonprofit organization that empowers rural youth. We believe that youth participation is extremely important in rural development because the youth is the future of both China and the world.
Educators should equip them with the core life skills, practical knowledge, and values that can enhance their leadership and social responsibility mindset, which will contribute to the sustainable rural development.
Here in our department in development sustainability, we teach, we do research, and we work with many agencies, and we mostly focus on the young people because we rear the brighter minds. So we think that people like us and you can all work together for making our world a sustainable world for tomorrow and beyond.
We believe that it is very important not only for students to engage in courses related to sustainable development, but also to build a system, a network to support students who are experts, local teachers, townspeople, government, local government, and the rest can support the students together in exploring these very important issues.
It's important to engage young people in rural village sustainable development because the village provides us anything in the daily life of the young people. Village is so far away, but it's important to get them together, get the village and the students to know about what's going on in the village. I think that's important, and that's what we are doing and trying our best to promote more young people to know about the village, to learn from the village, and to get the link between them.
I'm so glad to teach as a member of GFC in a rural school. Even though the youth has not enough teaching experience, we have more energy and broad perspective. We can give the students more opportunity to know the outside world so that they have more choice to change their life. Youth participates in the countryside education will actively influence the local development, thereby contribute to the sustainable rural development.
I believe in the power of education. I feel very happy that I can contribute to promoting the fairness in education. It should not be the only right answer to stay in the city for youth with countless possibilities. I think countryside is not only where we come from, but also where we can return.
As the youth, we are eager to eliminate the annoyances, but we are powerless. We can do little to improve the situation. However, the rural area is a less developed place with less restrictions. Maybe we can make better progress here. Also, as a youth, we can understand and applicate these cutting-edge theories more easily and rapidly. Practicing in the rural education makes me more realistic. So I strongly recommend everyone to join in the sustainable rural development.
Oops. Okay, again, a big thanks to all the partners and supporters who have signed in our call. And okay, now some people may ask, tell me what to do. I already know that you're calling to our youth-led actions. So what happens next? So here is our plan for the coming year. And I'd like to share with you.
我听不见你讲。
看到您进去了。
是。
All right, we have our closing remarks guest joining, and please allow several seconds for her to get ready. All right, and now I'm going to share with you what we want to do first. So we will collect best practices from the following two aspects. One, education for sustainable rural development programs, and then second, youth-led actions for sustainable rural development. We also welcome creative artworks that reflects in-depth understanding of the concept ecological civilization. And the forms of the words can either be photographs or short videos or paintings, posters, and picture books. And we are also committed to building extensive partnerships with regional and international organizations, universities, local actors, and youth associations to facilitate cross-cultural exchange of policies and practices, advance evidence-informed practice, and mobilize more youth engagement. Moreover, we intend to work with academia, practitioners of rural development, local communities, and youth leaders to formulate effective guidance for transformative actions. So please stay tuned and check for more updates on our website or official accounts. And thank you for your time and support today. We believe in the potential of youth power, and we look forward to any future cooperation. With that said, we are concluding today's youth session, but we also hope that it will also be the starting point of more youth-led actions and at grassroots levels, at leadership positions, and among partnerships from different countries, from different generations, ethnicities, and other identity backgrounds. Thank you very much. And now give the floor to the closing remarks.
好的，非常感谢啊，感谢参加今天我们。
Okay, thank you very much for all of you to participate to today's different sessions of today's conference, including all the friends online. And thank you for your passion. You've been staying here until the last moment. So even though the number of people are limited, but still we think that all of us are like the sparks, and we will definitely influence the very larger environment. And until now, we are mainly covered major agendas of the 2 days session. It's about time to say goodbye. So now we are going to enter into the closing ceremony. And today we'd like to give the speaker of the keynote speech yesterday, Ms. Yang Guiping, who is the chief expert of Zigen, who is at the east of US. It is still 4 a.m. for her. Now, please, Ms. Yang. Distinguished guests, I myself is very honored and very happy to participate in today's conference. First, I'd like to congratulate the very creative and active content have been shared on this seminar, and it has been very successful. It is just a beginning. Just as we know, we hope that we can see it will be further developed. And there are several aspects which are very interesting. So first one, from the society and the cultural and economic perspectives, to discuss the rural sustainable development and what role can education play in promoting rural sustainable development. At the same time, under the international framework and also in line with China's ecological construction and the rural revitalization, what has been done in terms of the rural practices has been shared on the conference. This is also very, very new information to all of us. And also, I believe that China and ASEAN countries can have this. We can have the grassroots levels communities and the academia can join hands together to discuss about the experiences and the investigations they've done and to learn how the education can promote the sustainable development and then to further realize the sustainable development in rural areas. We all have very high expectations on that. We also stressed that in this field, the importance of the participation of the young people and how we can make sure the young people can accept the opportunities of ESD and to increase the awareness and take actions for them. At the same time, they will be the major force for the future development of the ESD in rural areas. We're looking forward to see more young people in the future in the rural areas. I believe that the action as the call to the youth-led action is also very important. And we hope that these activities and initiatives can have very deep roots. I would like to share with you the following aspects, which will be the starting point of our future work. So first, we have a tape recorded the conference, and we're going to print out all these papers and the speeches so that we will have the videos and tests to share with all of the people to increase the influence. And also this symposium is a symposium is just starting, but we hope that in future, at least it can be held 1 year or once in every 2 years. It will be a network so that we will zoom in to specific areas and to exchange ideas, especially the world is always changing. We can always keep updated about new situations and new concepts and new practice. We can exchange this and build the network. One target is how to promote the sustainable development in the rural areas through education. So I hope we can have the regular meetings in the future. We also suggest that it's very hard for us to gather here. Even without the COVID, we can have the chance to meet face to face and to build ties with each other. But still, it is very good to have this online. So even though we are very far away from each other, but still we can meet online. And also, I hope that we can unite the academia, universities, and the civil organizations. Most importantly, the grassroots communities and organizations at grassroots level who would like to become an important force to work together. And this is very important that we can have the future and continuous exchange. And secondly, we hope that for the young people, we can build platforms for the young people and make sure that there will be more young people to accept the training opportunities about ESD to increase their awareness. And in terms of the activities, they can all be united and gathered and be the major force for the this is the major the dream of all of us. I believe that, of course, great efforts are needed, and for us, Zigen Group, and also for the UNESCO en route, we can take the lead together and to gradually finish all these jobs. And I'm also very happy that we can gather together. And the very beginning is a big success already. And we will take time to find the fund and to find the resources and to make it sustainable. It is not general action, but it's a long-term action, which consists from the different and little steps and little progress. Okay, I myself is glad again that I can have the chance to summarize this information with you. And we have sowed the seed. And we hope that we can see that younger and more active and sustainable rural areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Yang, for your warm and vibrant speech. After hearing this, I felt a great warmth, and she has summed up our symposium and also raised the expectations for the youth, and some thoughts on the next steps. I totally agree that these should become a regular mechanism. As a platform built, we can make more friends through it. And we believe that facing 2030, we still have 7 or 8 years. How can we introduce more perspectives into the implementation of the 2030 agenda? That's what we need to do. And also, I'm convinced that youth can play a very, very important role in the process. From UNESCO Euronet, therefore, I would like to avail myself to this opportunity to say a few words on behalf of Euronet. Professor Yang has summed up our symposium with a lot of features mentioned, but I would also like to share the following features of the symposium. First, we have a very broad participation of guests with diverse perspectives. And we have reached a consensus, especially after the post-industrialization period, the diversity of local education and the return to the authentic aspects of rural knowledge. We have reached a basic consensus on this. That means that this conference has become very fruitful because consensus is the foundation for next step actions. And also during our youth forum, we also have a consensus-based document that is the call for action, which has received the support from multiple organizations. Going forward, we have to translate the initiative into actions. Without actions, the call for action document will become lifeless. Therefore, we hope that youth can work together with us to make it into a vision shared by all and actions taken by all. Therefore, and in addition, I think this symposium has demonstrated a close partnership. As you can see, the organizers consisting of 5 organizations, including the Faculty of Education of BMU, China Zhigen, and Asian Institute of Technology, and UNESCO and organizations. Of course, other universities and research institutes have provided their facilitation and support. We have maintained close contact to ensure the success. That is the foundation of this great symposium. And we hope that this endeavor of ESD can be achieved through close partnership. And that is the only way. And I also think that this is the platform to demonstrate the power of youth. The Agricultural Education Center has organized, Euronet has organized many events, but this is the first time for us to build a platform for youth to exchange. We hope that young people can speak freely with their thoughts and ideas and actions and experiences. We want your voice to be heard. And with this online platform, it seemed that there was a limited number of participants participated. However, this event is lively broadcasted. So I believe that your voice can reach more people and more communities. The organizers of this event and the kind of chief commander, Ms. Gong Shiqing of this organizing committee, has made continuous efforts, energy and time for the organizing of this event, which has also demonstrated the strength and the power of youth. With this symposium, we have shared the policy and the practice of China and Southeastern Asian countries in race regard. And Professor Yang mentioned that a lot of organizations and people have carried out grassroots exploration, which is of great local and global significance, because actions in China will help other countries to find the key to address the challenges that they are facing. This exchange and sharing have boosted the exchange of knowledge and practice. The conclusion of this symposium is not the ending, it is just the beginning of a new course. In the future, we will carry out more research and public policy advocacy, and also the capacity building of people, in particular the youth, because Professor Yang mentioned that we can provide more training and learning opportunities for young people. Meanwhile, we need to build more networks and expand our partnership. And most importantly, as we mentioned, that we must take actions for the marginalized and vulnerable youth. During the process, we always know that going alone, you can go very fast, but marching together, you can ensure a successful long journey. African people and Southeastern Asians always mention that as one of the youth representative mentioned that when we work alone, we can work faster, but when we work together, we can work further. So this is a widely shared wisdom. Widely shared wisdom. Therefore, instead of we should not just strengthen China Zhigen and Southeast Asian Ministers Organization, education organizations participation, but also the participation of more individuals. And we just had like a trial for youth exchange platform, but in the future, as a platform, we will offer more for youth exchange. because the 2050 and the future belong to the young people. Last but not least, I would like to thank all parties and in particular the supporting organizations. And I also would like to thank Professor Yang and her team for your huge support, especially Professor Li Guangdui and Professor Zhang Qiang, who have participated during the whole process of organizing this event. I would like to thank jury and other experts who have shouldered a lot of responsibilities of organizing of this event. And a lot of experts from Southeast Asian and Asian countries and have recommended a lot of youth representatives. And also I would like to thank the Southeast Asian organizations and the Asian Institute of Technology. I would like to thank the professors from Beijing Normal University for their huge support. And then I would like to thank my colleagues for their energy and time devoted to this event. They have been working around the clock. And as I mentioned, Ms. Gong Shijing is the chief commander of this event. She's the director and I'm just the actor, just like making a film. And we had a vision which has been discussed in the first half of this year. But in order to translate this vision into action, a lot of efforts were required. I'm really grateful to her leadership and efforts in making this a great success. And also I would like to thank the colleagues and the staff such as Li Yang and Fan Beibei, who have been managing the live broadcasting and online platform. And they have been working really hard behind the scene. I encourage them to open the camera to say hello. And Chunnan from our office has provided support as well. Therefore, I really appreciating this effective, united, and a professional team for the efforts. And with that, I would like to conclude this symposium saying that it's a great success. I'm looking forward to future opportunities for us to work together, to collaborate and march towards the future together. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
谢谢大家。
Thank you.
谢谢啊，杨老师，您可以睡觉。
Thank you, Professor Yang.
谢谢杨老师一大早起来。
Thank you, Professor Yang, for getting up so early for our event. Yes, going forward, we have to make the seed sound into a great success.
大家。
好，事情辛苦啊。
没事，不辛苦。
小牛辛苦啊，写报告看创意。
杨老师。
Interpretation service will stop here. This forum is concluded. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
好，那再见了啊！
再见。再见，拜拜。
按照杨老师的说法，明年我们找一个东南亚国家，
好的，
一个泰国或者是菲律宾，我觉得这是一个极好的机会。
好的。
好，那就赶紧吃饭，加油。
拜拜，大家拜拜。
拜拜。